Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation. It's Tuesday, July 1st. Can you believe it? 9:30 in the morning here at the Community Center. Purpose of this meeting is to conduct the regular Golden Rain Foundation Board meeting in accordance with Civil Code 4930 and is hereby noticed in accordance with Civil Code 4920. Will we establish a quorum? I see we have all of us here and some online. The media is recording us for posterity, which is good. Are there any other reporters or others in the room who will be from media? Seeing none, I would ask for approval of the agenda. I'm sorry, a Pledge of Allegiance led by Director Ellen Leonard.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as posted? Second. Any objections? Hearing none, agenda is approved. Approval of minutes. We have many minutes to approve. And if there are any corrections or changes for minutes posted April 4th, May 14th, May 28th, June 3rd, June 19th, June 19th, Part B. Any changes, corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve as posted?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Those are approved as posted. As we start off today, we kick off the second half of the year, and we meet both challenges and some progressive projects that are in work or proposed. At long last, the fiber infrastructure is being replaced. This is a project that will contemporize a key utility in the village that affects every manor. You can see the folks from Ting, the contractor, already making progress every single day if you take a look around the village. This is a business plan season, of course, for us this time of year. GRF Board's goal is to produce a 2026 operating and capital plan that produces expenditures and maintains healthy ratios. Part of that means acting now to conserve 2025 spending wherever prudent. We need to align the short-term and the long-term objectives for Laguna Woods Village amenities by communicating better. Some members focus only on their monthly out-of-pocket costs to live here. Yet the board must also consider the longer view as required by the trust. On September 30th, we'll enjoy the Unity Festival, a first here, to celebrate our rich and varied heritages. There will be live music, great food, performances, Clubhouse 2, and you won't want to miss it. So I'm keeping my remarks brief this morning because we've got a full agenda, and let's get going on it, please. Okay, next we have report of the chair. I'm sorry, report of the CEO. I just said that, didn't I? Thank you.
Thank you, President Bach, honorable members of the board. It's my privilege this morning to touch on some key items from the community. I'm going to start with wildfires this morning, and we encourage, as we head into the summer months and the July 4th holiday, encourage residents to be wildfire ready. Southern California, as you know, faces a moderate to severe drought. Wildfire risks increase during this key time of year, and preparation is key against fast, unpredictable events. Key preparedness steps include knowing fire extinguishers, location, usage, expiration dates, learn utility shutoffs, gas, electric, and water. Prepare a go bag, food, water, medications, cash, flashlight, first aid, clothes, documents, pet supplies, and batteries. Create a wildfire action plan, evacuation routes, meeting points, pet arrangements, family communication, and so forth. Stay informed via critical resources. Alert OC is the countywide emergency notification system. OC Fire Authority, OCFA, has information on current activities and events and wildfires, most importantly. And CAL FIRE Incident Tracker Also provides updated real-time information. Code Red Alerts in the Village is a source for our community-specific updates. Alerts may include evacuation instructions and county guidance. Please register at lagunawoodsvillage.com or via Code Red icon on the resident portal. Also monitor wildfires and air quality. Stay indoors, keep windows and doors closed. Use air conditioning on recirculate mode. Stay hydrated. Seek medical attention for serious symptoms. And you can check air quality information at aqmd.gov. Locally, we want to remind residents about dumpster fire safety since the village has experienced a couple of fires recently. These are photos from a June 14th fire under a manor. It was in an under manor enclosure. Tips to prevent dumpster fires include avoiding disposing items in dumpsters such as smoldering cigarette butts and barbecue coals, batteries, damaged electrical items, and chemicals. Residents may call 800-449-7587 for free household hazardous waste pickups through the City of Laguna Woods contract service provider, WM Curbside. Also, Laguna Woods City Hall accepts drop-offs for household batteries. We also want to remind residents about residential fire safety. The community has experienced a number of small fires lately, from a barbecue grease fire on the left-hand side of the screen, a smoldering appliance on a patio on the center picture, and a kitchen fire from items left on the stove on the right side of the screen. Fire extinguishers can help fires from escalating if you have the right kind at the right place and at the right time. Keep one near your kitchen, where most common house fires start. Store another near home exits to aid a safer getaway if flames are close to house entry points. Per OCFA, a multi-purpose ABC extinguisher is recommended for home use. A, device can extinguish fires from wood, cotton, and cloth. B, fights fires from flammable liquids like cooking sprays. C, will extinguish fires resulting from live electricity. Use the pass technique for using the extinguisher per OCFA. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the lever slowly, and sweep from side to side. Please visit ocfa.org for fire extinguisher and home safety information. There's an instructional video from OCFA on how to use fire extinguishers, and there are a number of safety flyers available in various languages. Also, please remember to call 911 and ensure you have a clear exit route before using an extinguisher. Another key topic in our community is coyotes. As you know, we live adjacent to coyote country. Discovering Laguna Woods Village host Sydney Whitney interviewed retired Laguna Beach Animal Services Officer David Petrella to increase awareness on how to coexist with coyotes. You can watch Village Television using the YouTube channel shown on the address on your screen. Animal Control advises residents to keep your dogs on leashes when outdoors. Use a leash 6 feet long or less. Walk safely, walk in groups, and carry a whistle, air horn, or other noisemaker to startle any coyotes you encounter. Keep cats indoors. Keep pet food and water bowls indoors. Do not feed wildlife. And keep barbecue grills clean and covered so they don't attract wildlife. If you need help with coyotes, Laguna Beach Police Department's Animal Services Division, not VMS, responds to village wildlife situations. To report encounters, you can use the contact information on the screen before you. You can call 949-497-0701, extension 602, or you can email the animal control officer assigned to the village. Lastly, I would like to provide a quick update on the high-speed fiber internet service project. Ting's construction is underway. Work began in the southeast area near gates 1 through 4, and they're highlighted on the screen to the right side. Crews are locating underground utility lines for safe installation, installing underground fiber access points, and proofing conduit. For residents to learn more about this key project, visit Ting's village-specific support site at tinginternet.com/Laguna Woods Village to to get answers and learn more about your internet service. You can also visit bit.ly/4NWXY83 to learn and view a comprehensive fact page for more details. And you can email Laguna Woods Village Construction at ting.com specifically for property impacted by the construction process. And that concludes my quick update this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Moving on now to open forum. 3 minutes per speaker, please. At this time, members only may address the board regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of this board of directors. Board reserves the right to limit the total amount allotted to open forum to 30 minutes. A member may speak only once and may not give their time to other people. No audio or video recording, please, by attendees, and no rude or threatening behavior comments. And then there's information about how to join by Zoom or to link in otherwise. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, we have 2 in person and 1 via email that I'll read after. The first in person is Dorothy Picella.
Good morning, everyone.
morning.
I'm Dorothy Picella, and I'm here on behalf of the History Center. I'm a trustee on the board, and I wanted to invite you, our members, and our viewing audience to come celebrate with us at the History Center. What are we celebrating? The 60th anniversary of Village TV. That's right. Village TV is going to be 60 years old. We're very excited. And as you know, we absolutely have these wonderful archives in our center. And we have preserved all of this different information. Our archives are our reason for being. That's why we're there. And so what we have done is gone through the archives to bring in all the historical pieces from the archives related to Village TV. For example, look what I found. This is a copy of, believe it or not, 60 years ago, we had our own newspaper called Leisure World News. And this is the article announcing closed circuit TV debuts on Monday. Really and truly, this piece of paper is celebrating the launch of Village TV. Hard to imagine. It was so exciting. We have many of these kinds of archives and materials that we have from the opening. But when we set it up, and it's all there now in our display cases, when we set it up, we knew we needed more. So we called this chap, his name is Paul. You might know of him. He came and helped us, and he brought cameras and equipment and all the things from his archives upstairs. So it's a wonderful display. So we're celebrating because it's a wonderful event for us. And we celebrate Paul, we celebrate his contribution over the years he's been here, and we're celebrating the village. So I know the village just turned 60 in September, but believe it or not, 13 months later, we turned on the TV. And we're one of the few villages in the country that have closed-circuit TV just exclusively for us. So that deserves a celebration. That deserves recognition. And so we're happy to do it on behalf of the village. Please come visit us. We are open Monday through Friday from 11 to 1 or by appointment. And please enjoy the party because we're celebrating Village TV. And I know you will. And on behalf of all of you, thank you for funding us all these years. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next speaker is John Beckett.
Hello, I'm here about that $9 million. I got this letter from your lawyer. He says the association accepts your request to go to mediation. We recommend using the Honorable James L. Smith, retired, as the mediator. Judge Smith is with JAMS. That's an acronym. I think it stands for Judicial Arbitration and Mediation Services. Judge Smith is with JAMS in their Orange County office. The JAMS OC office offers a low-cost mediation program for HOA disputes that includes a 4-hour mediation, and it costs each side $950. It took me a while, but I finally persuaded my wife to let me spend $950. So I sent this letter. I agree to be bound by the decision of a retired Superior Court judge from the JAMS OC office and to pay one-half of the judge's fee. Will your client agree to be bound by the judge's decision? I'm anxious to get to mediation on this, and I hope I can get an answer to that question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the final speaker is an email submitted by member Chris Collins. Okay, they said, I'm here with an update of the work of the foundation of Laguna Woods Village that we do on behalf of village residents who are experiencing temporary financial crises. Laguna Woods is one of the safest communities in Orange County, but that does not make it immune to the threat of wildfires. While the memory of the LA fires may be dimming, wildfires are a possible threat throughout the county. Given the mobility issues and frailty of some village residents, emergency preparedness is that much more important here. In large measure, the protection of the village falls to the Orange County Fire Authority and the Orange County Sheriff's Department. The third interview in the foundation of Laguna Woods Village's televised series, Planning for the Unpredictable, will introduce us to Captain Jack Ackerman, who oversees police services in Laguna Woods. Since its incorporation in 1999, the City of Laguna Woods has contracted with Sheriff's Department to provide police services. During an emergency such as a wildfire, Captain Ackerman explains how the OC Sheriff's Department will form a unified command with OC Fire, and that the Sheriff's personnel will have responsibility to notify residents of the need for evacuation, sometimes going house to house. The Sheriff's Department does have resources to assist residents in an evacuation and will utilize village resources such as buses as well. In all, though, Captain Ackerman urged residents to be enrolled with Alert OC so that they are notified in the event of an emergency and to keep an easy-to-carry go bag ready with a change of clothing and medications. He also suggested having a handwritten list of important telephone numbers in your go bag if your cell phone runs out of power or gets lost or broken. The broadcast of the interview with Jack Ackerman will air on Village Television in June on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. and Saturdays at noon. In addition, all the interviews, which are part of the Planning for Unpredictable series, can be accessed as YouTube videos on the Foundation's website, foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org, under the special tab Disaster Preparation. If you have any questions about planning for the unpredictable, please contact the Foundation at thefoundation@comline.com or 949-268-2246, or go to our website, foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. And that is all for open forum.
Thank you. Are there any responses to open forum comments, either this one or previous meetings from anyone? Ellen?
Okay, I'll make a comment. Dorothy, thank you for your presentation. I've never been to the History Center. I've been meaning to get over there. Yes, there's a lot more there than just the display on the TV. So Monday through Friday, 11 to 1? Okay, thank you.
All right. Kush?
Thank you. Just a follow-up, Ms. Pachella. Could you tell everybody where, when, and what time is this going to be displayed? That would be very nice, because that's an important piece of information.
Great. Thank you, Chris. It's there now. It's already set up in our lobby in beautiful display cases, and it will be there for several months while we celebrate this. So it's open to the public. Anyone can come in and enjoy the display cases, and it's all dedicated to Village TV.
Lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. One more.
Yes.
And as usual, thank you, Chris, for letting us know for all the good stuff that you have from the foundation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on to consent calendar, all matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board in one motion. And we have 3 items: the recommendation from Finance Committee. We have entertained a motion for updated committee assignments, and entertain a motion to approve Inspector of Elections and the tentative schedule for elections. I would entertain now one motion to approve all 3. Gary, move. Ellen, second. Any objections? Consent calendar. Kush?
We needed to make some changes on the committee assignments. Can we pull that out?
Yes, if you wish to.
Yes, please.
All right. I would ask then that the secretary read the changes and committee assignments, only the changes.
Before we get to the changes, I want to add a change to it.
Yes.
I would like to request that my committee assignments to all the committees be removed, please. Thank you.
All right. Duly noted.
Okay, so we'll just read the changes to the various committees. Community Activities Committee, add Steve Leonard, take out Marie Collins and Robert Muchnick of 3rd, add Howard Fox of 3rd. Also add John Luby of Mutual 50. Finance Committee, Murad Kespi, alternate for United, and Walter Bausman, added for Mutual 50. Information Technology, strike Sue Quam for United. Add Murad Kespi for United, and take out Riza Karimi for 3rd. Landscape Committee, remove Brad Breinhardt as chair, but leave him on the committee. Allison Bach will be the chair. Maggie Blackwell is going from alternate to a member, and Jeannie Costello is an alternate for United. S.K. Park removed for 3rd. Steve Parsons added for 3rd. Maintenance and Construction Committee, take Brad Reinhardt out as chair, add Egon Garthhoffner as chair, and add Jeannie Costello for United as a member. Utility and Vehicles Committee, add Murad Kespi for United as an alternate. Security and Community Access Committee, add Murad Kespi for United. Laguna Woods Traffic Hearings, take out Robert Muchnick of 3rd, add Howard Fox of 3rd, add Margaret Bennett of Mutual 50. Space Planning Ad Hoc Committee. As we've already heard, Mr. Bada will be taken out as chair. And Jeannie Costello is added from United. Sue Quam as alternate for United. And add an advisor, Nancy Carlson. And that is it for the changes on our committees. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any objections to the motion on the floor that's been made and seconded to approve the consent calendar? Hearing none, so approved.
One more change.
Yes, Kush?
On the revenue generating, please remove my name from there.
All right, that committee is no longer active, but...
But it's still on the list.
Yeah, so it should be, okay.
Yes. And when you removed my name from the space planning, you removed me as the chair, but remove my name completely from the committee.
That has been duly noted.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Under unfinished business, I would entertain a motion to approve the parking rate change for DC EV charging stations at the community center. This is just the parking rate. When people are done charging, but they haven't moved their cars out of the parking space to permit someone else to come in and charge. So this has been on 28-day notification, and this is the end of the review period. Do I have a motion to approve this? Steve, a second? Okay. Okay, would you read the resolution, at least the exciting parts?
Well, it's very short.
Okay.
Resolution 90-25-XX, approving, oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. Did we skip something? Skip election.
Well, that was part of consent calendar.
Okay. Okay, Resolution 90-25-XX, parking rates for electric vehicle charging stations. Whereas the GRF Board recognized the need to amend parking rate for Level 3 electric vehicle charging stations as necessary. And as whereas GRF owns and operates 3 Level 3 EV charging stations located at the community center with dedicated parking spaces. Now therefore be it resolved, July 1, 2025, the Board hereby approves the following parking rates for Level 3 vehicle charging stations applicable to both members and non-members effective upon adoption of this resolution. Parking rate, Level 2 chargers, $2 per hour after 4 hours. Level 3 chargers, 60 cents per minute after a 10-minute grace period. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the resolution as written. June notification, 28-day notification for member review and comments to comply with Civil Code 4360 has been satisfied. I offer this resolution.
Second. Okay, all right. Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Resolution passes. Okay, next we have, under new business, the matter of the elimination of the traffic school. We have a staff report from Chief Nunez, please. Good morning.
Morning, President
Good
Buck,
morning.
and the rest of the GRF board. The recommendation for the elimination of traffic school is as reads. Staff recommends to discontinue the current traffic school program that security provides due to it having an unvalidated curriculum, unsupported metrics of desirable outcomes, and does not financially support the use of staff time to run. A lot of this was brought to our SCAC committee and going over the details of this. But it's a program that was started about in 2007 when I went back and looked at the history, which kind of looked like it was to try to educate some of our drivers when they did commit some sort of violation. But, basically these are the primary notices of violations that are sent out by our traffic enforcement. The number one thing is stop signs. Then we also have speeding and various levels of speeding, but speeding by itself, because of what they call the prima facie speed limit in our community is 25 miles per hour for the most part. There are some 15 mile per hour zones, but it's 25, and so we have those two and some illegal parking and whatnot. But for the moving violations, people would pay a nominal fee to go to traffic school, and then we would have somebody instruct it. But when I did the evaluation and assessment of this program, in 2024 we held 23 traffic school events, and the average of 4 hours on administrative details pre-class, and then post for the administrative coordinator totaling 92 hours for 2024 at a total cost of $2,415. Security at that time also, for every one of those events, pays one of our traffic officers to instruct traffic school, removing the officer for 2 hours from actual traffic enforcement to actually preside over the classroom environment, totaling of 46 hours for 2024, where they were not in the field enforcing traffic rules and regulations at a total cost of $1,238. Now, when you combine that, that's $3,653. And then you look at the loss of traffic school or notice of violation fees, because they're paying a nominal fee compared to what they would pay for the actual violation that they committed, which would help prevent them from recommitting these violations. It actually winds up being that we actually pay $13,508 in order to put traffic school on, And when you have a program that doesn't have any real learning objectives, no accreditation, really for the persons that teaching the class, it just, as a risk manager, when I went over this with risk management as well, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to continue this program. And that's why we're recommending that we eliminate that program. And I bring this before the board for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions for Chief Nunez? And, okay, Gary?
A couple. One thing that I don't see in here is that a whole lot of these folks go to this class so that they don't have, so they get their fine reduced from $200 to $25 or whatever.
Yes, sir.
I don't see a line item that shows how much revenue we're losing from that. And a follow-on, somewhat related question was that there was discussion, and I had understood that there was an agreement that we were going to put a sign on underneath the primary stop signs, making sure that everyone realizes that the fine now is $200, not the $25 or $50 or whatever it was, and I haven't seen any of those. Where's the progress on that?
Yeah, we're looking at the costs associated for those signs. There's just going to be a few signs that are going to go up. Or the recommendation from the SCAC was that we consider putting up signs that would, at the entrance of our properties at every gate, saying that if please stop at all stop signs. The violation for a stop sign is whatever the cost is. So in working with general services, I'm working with general services and looking at that, and then also what the cost would be for the signs, which is not that much. And then I told SCAC that we report back to them at our next meeting, which is not next month, but in August, and we would have either the signs put up by then, or I would be able to give them a status report at that point. And the revenue, if you look at the attachment on attachment 1, on page 5 of 8 of the staff report, it does list what they call, and I know I'm sorry for not spelling it out, but NOV is a notice of violation, and LR is loss of revenue. And it's $9,855 between the difference of what they would have paid and what they paid for the traffic school.
Okay.
Thank you. Other questions? Kush?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
we are in a retired senior community.
Mm-hmm.
This shouldn't be a revenue generating bucket. So if we are not collecting revenue over here, it shouldn't matter. It's something that we are doing to educate and inculcate the need to follow the rules. I know there are people in all kinds of mindset to be in a hurry, do this or do that, but I think this, number one, I think it's not only the department's fault, but it's also the fault of the board maybe to increase the fees so high, and then now we are trying to eliminate the possibility of them trying to work it out so that they can have a smaller fee, spend some time, and if they are not attending and paying attention, that is a fault of the person presenting. I've been to traffic school when I was younger. I haven't got a ticket in the last 20, 30 years, so I haven't been to one recently, so I don't know. But the one that I went to, I fell asleep and I was punished for falling asleep. But that's different. That was a long time ago. If we are not keeping them paying attention, that means there's something wrong with the presenter. So I'm not really sure that this is the right direction that we are taking.
Well,
and I'm not in favor.
Okay. And I appreciate that. I can tell you that traffic enforcement, even from a city perspective and a county perspective, as well as here, has never been about a revenue generation. Otherwise, they would be just exorbitant fees, and they would be out there citing everything that moved and not using any discretion whatsoever not to give cites on some issues. It is a traffic safety program that is supposed to, all of them are implemented so that we save lives and injuries from occurring and damage to property. And we look at it the same way here. That's why we have a graded, schedule that if you violate this stop sign once, this is the fee. If you get caught doing it again, it goes higher. And third is supposed to be able to, stop them or use as a behavior modification, if you will, to stop violating the stop signs. Because we know this about traffic enforcement. And having done this before professionally, I know that most people that get a citation for, say, running a stop sign, it's not the first stop sign they've ever ran. And the same with speeding, usually, and this is no different from crime. When you commit a crime, you catch a guy stealing a car, the chances are he's stolen somewhere between 24 to 30 cars prior to you actually catching him. So I do agree that education would be always beneficial, and we are also looking at potentially putting together a video just to remind people of the rules of the road of our community. But the actual enforcement is about, one is it does wake people up when you get stopped by one of our traffic specialists. Two, if you do get the citation because they feel that it's warranted and they have discretion not to issue one if they don't deem so. But if it's a flagrant situation, they issue one, then it's a reminder not to do it again. And certainly if you're a repeat offender, the second violation would be increased, and you would then know that, okay, that's it. I'm going to definitely stop at every stop sign or watch my speed. And it's all about keeping the public here, both pedestrian, golf carts and other vehicles safe, and bicyclists.
Thank you. Brad Reinhardt has his hand up. Brad?
I just had a quick question. Is there a third-party online provider that could, if it's $40, they would do an hour course. It's interactive. You'd have to pass it. Is that an option that we've explored at all in lieu of an in-person type of program?
Yeah, we looked at actually the cost of this, like what happens outside of our environment. You actually have to pay the fine and then pay for traffic school, which is in the 100 or anywhere between $60 to $100, depending on how you take the format. So, that would be a bigger hit than some of our past violations. Like a traffic, you run a stop sign, you would be charged $50. Well, if you got charged the $50, then got charged traffic school to get it off your record, this doesn't go to the DMV, so people aren't interested in trying to have it removed from their record necessarily. And that's why the option of having a third party do it is just way too costly for our community.
Gary?
I brought this up one time in the past, and if we go back to what Kirsch was talking about from the angle of what we really are looking for is safety, staying away from accidents, etc. I live right behind gate 10. As you come out of gate 10, probably 3/4 of the traffic does an immediate right at the first stop sign, then comes up a half a block and does another immediate right. On the other side of the street, there's a stop sign just before you're heading out the gate. If you wanted to make money, you could leave somebody there 24/7 because those suckers get run forever. And why? Because the possibility of there being an accident is really small. If anybody's going to get hit, it's going to be me backing out of my driveway that's right next to that stop sign. And I'm serious, I have to really be alert to people whipping around that corner. If we put in speed bumps in front of those, we would slow those folks down enough that you would eliminate 99% of the possibility of accidents. The only excuse that I've heard for not using those is, well, the fire department wouldn't like it. Well, the Towers is full of speed bumps. The Pack is full of speed bumps. I do not understand why we would not consider speed bumps.
But yeah, this is for committee, Gary, you know that. So, any other comments? We'll read the motion, please, the resolution, Mr. Secretary.
Okay, Resolution 90-25-XX, elimination of traffic school. Whereas the Security and Community Access Committee, SCAC, moved to discontinue the current traffic school program, and whereas the aim to improve driver compliance with HOA laws since 2007, Village Management Services Security Department developed and has been operating a traffic school instructing by staff. For those members who have received notice of violation for a moving violation at a reduced cost of the $20 paid to to Golden Rain Foundation compared to the cost of the violation. The program has raised concern regarding of the efficacy, effectiveness, and financial sustainability. Whereas research has shown or shows there is no documentation regarding the goals of traffic school, the anecdotal reason given was that there's a way to make drivers understand the rules of the road per governing documents of Laguna Woods Village, reduce accidents, and make the roadway safer for all. And whereas elements did not cover some of the rules of the road, it was lacking more in-depth overview. There were no established or validated student learning objectives to support this goal and measure if members were actually learning. Now, therefore, be it resolved, July 1, 2025, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves elimination of traffic school program helping to restore a significant, valuable amount of staff time back to security, not exposing GRF or VMS to any potential liability or impacting the necessary deterrence of engaging in unsafe driving habits by removing the full penalty for the violation committed, and resolve further that the officers in the corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of this corporation to carry out the purposes of this resolution. I offer the resolution.
Second. Okay, further discussion? Paul?
We have one member comment.
Member comment? Richard?
Good morning, Dick Rader, 270D. I just want to remind people that AARP does run a safe driver course, and I think that you don't have to be a member of AARP to take it. And they further state that it could have a positive effect on your insurance rate, lower it somewhat.
Thank you. I will call the, Egan?
I just want to make a comment since everybody's so concerned about the traffic fines, and some people think it's not enough, some people think it's too much. The state of California right now has a potential law going through that will impact all of that by capping all fines in HOAs to $100.
Interesting. We'll see where that goes. Okay, call the vote on this. All those in favor?
Can we do the vote on it?
Yeah, if we could use the system.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brad, has Brad voted?
Brad voted. I need Marie's vote.
Marie, okay. Okay,
Okay,
motion.
I'm going to mark Marie as absent.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, next is a motion to authorize staff to release a request for proposal, RFP, for Clubhouse 1 Fitness Center Mini Gym HVAC. And there is a staff report on this, of course, this was prepared by Danette Kirby. And Guy is presenting. Morning.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. Yes, so we have in the 2025 capital plan, it includes a $100,000 allocation to replace the rooftop HVAC system. So we want to go out to competitive bids. So we put together a request for proposal. We brought it to you for your review and to entertain a motion that to authorize staff to release the request for proposal of Clubhouse One Fitness Center mini gym HVAC. I'm here to take any questions. If you have questions about the scope of work, I'm happy to hear your suggestions.
Martin?
The amount you came up with for the capital was $100,000. Is there some history that can back that up that we have? It's a lot of money.
Yeah, so in the past, things have changed a lot. So pricing has gone crazy. There used to be a standard where you say it's about $2,500 per ton is how you would do a ROM estimate. Those days are over. So I think at the time this was put together, that ROM was used. There may be a difference in cost, so that's why we need to go out with this proposal, receive actual bids so we can determine where we're landing. And then in the future, when we go to put together these proposals or these budget estimates, we'll have a better idea of what the industry's doing at that time.
Steve?
I have two concerns. First and foremost, and I've discussed this frequently before, when we have staff reports, and these are public documents, which can be found online because they're agendas, the issue of putting in the amount, the allocation, I find to be highly objectionable because it gives vendors an idea of what we're prepared to spend. So just
May I
saying it.
address that concern? Now that the new website has launched, vendors no longer have access to reports.
Understood. However, residents do, and vendors can ask residents for a copy of an agenda. So again, I just want to voice that objection. I understand that that has been implemented, but when I get an agenda and I see a dollar amount for a project, whether it's $50,000 or $2 million, I just look at it and go, well, we just shown our cards. So I don't know how to address that, but I would like to see that addressed in some fashion in the future. The second question I have is, as I was going through these documents, I see that, and let me preface, Director Reinhardt had provided some of the directors, at least, with a list of all of the air conditioning units on all of the GRF facilities, showing their age, their current condition as whatever, and the makes and models of all of the HVAC units. My concern is we have one for Clubhouse 7 and we have one for Clubhouse 1 before us, and they're two different manufacturers. And
Yeah, I need help from, well, one of these girls close. May I help you? Oh.
Please mute Marie.
So in our fleet, for example, in our transportation fleet, we purchase primarily one manufacturer's vehicles for a period of time, like Ford. We have Ford pickup trucks, we have Ford vans, whatever the case may be, which provides a consistency in being able to maintain the units. So my question would be, is there any reason that we're not choosing a particular manufacturer and we're going from manufacturer to manufacturer, from building to building?
That's a great question, if I can answer that. This is a cost-saving measure. So there's a footprint that the unit sits on, and there are curbs there that it fits onto. If we were to change the model, then we would have to change that footprint. Then we would get into engineering, more cost to put a new curb down. So this is really an exchange like for like, and that's the purpose. If you wanted to start, if you choose a brand that you want to go with, that would have to be looked at, and a decision would have to be made on which brand you feel is best for this community. But as of now, we're just looking at cost savings, and the way to do that is to put a unit that will fit on top of the existing footprint.
So is there a vast difference from manufacturer to manufacturer in the size or the weight of a 5-ton versus a 10-ton versus a 15-ton?
There's configuration differences,
Okay.
and the actual, again, the footprint where it sits on the curbs themselves may change in dimension, and that would cause us to have to go into the engineering portion of it.
Thank you.
Ellen?
I'm looking at that report that Steve was referencing, and it doesn't tell you where in Clubhouse 1, but it is a 12-year-old, and it is a train. So we're replacing the carrier. It says it's in good condition, and this was at the end of last year. I don't know how we consider something good, and then it has operational disruptions. And so can you maybe explain why from the train to the carrier?
So we have two different, and that's, I believe, what Steve was mentioning. On one of the buildings, so we have two different HVACs that we're bringing to you, the scopes of work. One is a train and one is a carrier. That's the only difference. We're replacing the carrier with the carrier and the train with the train. We're not changing that.
Martin, were you next?
No. Okay, he got into the engineering.
Ellen, did you have?
Well, I just
Go
think
ahead.
you maybe should have a copy of this report, because I don't know where it's all train. There's only one carrier, and that is Clubhouse 1, and it's 1 year old. So maybe this report is inaccurate, or I don't know.
Yeah, we went on the roof and looked at the manufacturer and got all the specs. So we're pretty confident that we have the right units.
Guy, do you maintain these with internal staff, or when there's a problem, you bring in specialists on the particular model from the manufacturer?
I believe that we have preventative maintenance that runs through our staff. And then if there is an issue, I do believe if it depends on the capability of staff, what the issue is, whether it's in-house or it goes outside.
Gotcha. Okay. Other questions, Egon?
Yeah. So, in general, we have discussed internally that we want to limit replacements to things that really need to be replaced. And one of the issues is, expected operating life of 15 years. So the real time to replace something is when it's starting to cost you more than it would to cost you to replace. You do an analysis of cost benefit. And given our an upcoming budget crunch, we want to eliminate doing things, or we want to delay them until we absolutely have to. And it's interesting to say it's a 15-year life. Where I lived, things were much, much, much more, difficult on air conditioners. Places like Palm Springs and Bakersfield and stuff like that. And the life of air conditioners there is not limited to 15 years. So I think we need to evaluate this request based on how much we're spending currently and how often it breaks down or something. Last time I was in the gym, which was Sunday, it was pretty damn cool in there. Thank you.
Is there a service record, Guy, for this unit that we can,
I'm
that you've
sure
considered?
I'm not going to say I'm sure. I assume that there are records kept for these. That we would go to our maintenance staff and look for those records. But what happens is, so these come up, and as Mr. Goffner said, 15 years is the industry standard. It's due at 15 years. We have to look at those service records, which we do, to evaluate how it's performing at the time that 15 years comes up. So you'll notice one of them is just prior to the 15 years, and one of them is just after the 15 years. That's because we are looking at those factors when we bring these budgets to you.
Okay. Other questions, Martin?
Yeah, the issue is we kind of need 17 right now, not 15, with regards to these, to nurture along, to get to 2027. That's the thing is, well, the crunch that we're in. Can you nurse it along a couple more years?
I'm sure that these things can be deferred. If they break down, then we would come to you with a supplemental request. That's up to the board to make those decisions. We're just putting together our recommendations based on our inspections and the records that we have for service. I can tell you that Clubhouse 7 has been down many times. It's had to have temporary AC brought in. I would not recommend deferring this project, but again, it's a board decision. We're bringing you our recommendation based on our inspection.
We're talking about Clubhouse 1 right now, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That will
Gotcha.
be on the agenda. I apologize.
You're jumping
for
over.
getting ahead.
That's next. Yeah.
We'll get there.
There are others. Egon, you had something?
I was just
Yeah,
going to
right,
make that
thank you.
comment, sorry.
Do we have a motion then to?
I just had one additional remark. I have no objection to putting it out for RFP because it will give us a cost indication, which we should have. Whether or not we decide to move forward with replacement will be at a later date. In future, I would recommend that when staff brings a recommendation like this to us for replacement, that the service record of the unit would be included in the report so that we can see the frequency and the costs and what's going on. Gives us a better idea. You know, if it's been down 6 times in the last
right.
2 years and we spent $20,000 to do it, yeah, so that's my only other remark. Thank you.
Ellen?
Clubhouse One Fitness has an air quality problem, according to myself and some other people. Will that affect, if you put an air conditioner in there, will that have any effect on it? Because of the floor. We've had that discussion about the flooring and the smell.
This particular unit, it only services the gym, the mini gym. It doesn't service the fitness. There are 2 AC units that are outside on the ground that service the fitness center. The fitness center does have an air exchange, so it brings fresh air in. Those units bring fresh air in for the air exchange. We're still working to try to mitigate that odor that people are smelling in there. So that's still a work in progress. There were some suggestions made on how to mitigate that, and I believe that our staff is now following that. One of them was the cleaning process, and the other was the fresh air. And so we're making tweaks to the unit to bring in more fresh air because it is adjustable.
Okay, Marie?
And have we overlooked the suggestion that this board made about having the manufacturer and the person who laid that stuff come out and take responsibility?
I don't know what they would be taking responsibility for. There is a natural odor associated with rubber.
For only a couple of weeks at most. That's what the literature says.
Yeah, we're off topic here, Marie. We're really focusing on the HVAC request for proposal, so let's hold this.
Okay.
Yeah, at that, for a future discussion. Is there a motion to proceed with the RFP?
I'll make the motion.
To proceed, second? All right. Any further discussion? Yes, Michaela?
Yes, there is a member on Zoom who'd like to speak, Juanita Skillman.
Juanita? Go ahead. Hello?
Juanita, you can unmute yourself. Okay, maybe she stepped
Technical
away.
difficulties, okay. Unable to connect, we'll call the vote, please. It's been moved and seconded. Can we call the vote, please? No, we're not coming up with a screen.
Sorry, one moment, please.
Okay, all right. Okay, we're
Manahar, can I get your vote? I'm going to mark Andy as absent since he stepped out.
okay. Vote motion passes. Okay, do we get Brad?
Yes, he's been messaging me on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. And moving on, the next is
Personal
Marie?
point.
Yes.
Personal point of order.
Yes.
I was not absent. I was online driving.
Yes,
And
we
had
saw
a little
that.
difficulty, and my vote was yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can
We
I
knew
have that
you were with
erased
us.
that I was absent? I was not absent.
Yes, thank you, appreciate that. The next item on our agenda is closely related. It's the Clubhouse 7 HVAC proposal, and I think we'll probably hear much of the same. So, Guy?
Yes, you will hear much of the same. The plan is the same, to replace the existing unit with a newer unit that's on the rooftop. So this was a budget of $175,000. This is a 75-ton unit that's on this roof. This is for the Clubhouse 7 next door here. So that funding, that allocation was approved, and now we put together the RFP for your review and for you to accept it and authorize staff to take it out for request for proposals.
I'll move the motion to proceed.
Gary, second. All right. Discussion from board. This is, again, closely related. And again, this item has been through the M&C committee. Yes, and they've reviewed the scope of work and had no objections. Egan?
Yeah, just comment. I'm well aware that this unit failed completely and had to have some portable equipment moved in for a while. But it got fixed again. So that kind of points out that things can be fixed. That's all. The only point I want to make. I would have no particular objection to something that's from 2003. We're talking 22 years here. That's much more reasonable in actual life, although it's still operating. So I think we can probably support the request.
Any other comments? If not, we'll move to the vote.
I have a comment.
Yes, Kush?
This unit in the Clubhouse 7, my mic is on. Can you hear it? My question is that will it be operational section-wise? What I mean
So
is...
it will remain, so how it's operated, it will remain. We're just replacing the unit on the roof. So every other component it remains as is.
Yeah, but I'm not sure whether it is being used that way, so I just want to confirm that if the bridge room is being used or not used, it can be turned off over there, and if the dining room is being used, it can be turned on or off or whatever.
Yeah, from my understanding, it is zoned that way already, so it wouldn't be it would be the same.
Good, that's all I want to know.
Okay, thank you. Andy?
Guy was there yesterday at Clubhouse 7 for a play, and I can tell you that the air conditioning was a problem. So they brought in floor fans, and they were relatively quiet, for the play, but it's not fun to have the thing blown on you. And some people were it was really moving air. And we were nearby, but we got him to turn the fan, so somebody else got it. But this current situation, a lot of events having these floor fans, while they do provide some relief, that thing it's been a problem for a long time. So I hope we can address it. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? We'll move to the vote, please. All right, motion passes. Okay. Our next item is a motion to authorize staff to release an RFP for Clubhouse 7 lighting upgrades. And I believe this is yours, Ian, your project.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. So this is coming back before you. The M&C has already taken a look at this, and there was no objection from the M&C committee. Now it's moving forward to the board as requested. We kindly request that you vote to allow this RFP to go out. This is to upgrade the lighting in Clubhouse 7 from its current condition. The board asked for the solar consultant to take a look at this and give his opinion on what was to be done to update the lighting in that clubhouse. There was a lot of mention of replacing lights, one-for-one swaps. However, that is what we have been doing. So staff is continuing to recommend the replacement of the lighting in the clubhouse. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Steve?
So I would like to see this RFP changed based on the comments of our energy consultant. Mr. Alshamat is not a solar consultant, he's our energy consultant. If you look at page 19 of 20, his recommendations were to replace all the 6-inch downlights in the building. And then his other recommendations were to make repairs on ballasts for the chandeliers and the other LED tube lighting that's in the building. And he had put here that his rough order of magnitude to accomplish this would be $30,000. What we have before us is an RFP for $150,000. So I see a huge discrepancy in the analysis performed by our consultant and what staff is recommending. So I would not be in favor of this particular RFP. I would be in favor of an RFP that replaces all of the 6-inch downlights in the building and the exit signs, which the consultant also recommended. And then I would like to see an additional RFP, separate RFP, for the repair and replacements of the ballasts or elimination thereof to preserve the existing lighting that we have. And those, not improvements, but those repairs, in the consultant's opinion, would eliminate the flickering and the outage problems that we suffer from. They're not specific, the problems aren't specific to the units themselves, they are in the wiring that's in place. And so I would ask everybody to seriously look at the consultant's recommendations here. That's all. Thank you.
Comments, Marie?
Did you make a motion?
Not yet. No.
Okay.
We're just in discussion, yeah, right?
All right. Egan?
So one thing I have a question about. So we have 5 chandeliers have outages. Now, as I see, a chandelier is a thing hanging from the ceiling, and it has no mechanical functions of any kind. I mean, operable mechanical function. It's just a passive thing hanging there, and the lights either work or don't work, and they have 100 lights or whatever the number is. And so what is it we're planning to replace on the chandeliers? Why are we, why wouldn't we just replace the bulbs or something like that? Also, I'd like to comment on what Steve mentioned. It is very possible that we can go and we can do a simple test of some of the affected lighting fixtures by removing the ballast from the circuit and testing plain dimmable LED lights with the appropriate fixture in the wall. And I think we could probably, and then if that works, great, we do it. If it doesn't work, then we look at the next step. So that's my thinking there. Thank you.
Comments, questions? My question to Steve is, were you proposing that instead of accepting the RFP as we have in our agenda, instead we ask for an RFP that follows the guidelines and recommendations of Basel Al-Mashat? Is that correct?
Yes,
Is
and I think that would be two different RFPs.
Right.
One scope of work would be the replacement of all the 6-inch downlights and the exit signs. So that would be one, and the second would be to put out RFP for the repair of the other and modifications to the other lighting in the building.
Okay. Is there a second? Gary?
Second.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay. Question? I think Gary had a question.
Well,
comment.
actually, what I wanted to do was suggest a third RFP.
Okay.
And that one to replace the lights in the tennis courts. Again,
Let's stick with Clubhouse 7. Hold on.
He's doing electrical, we might as well get them all.
We've got to, okay, Kush? Thank you.
One thing for sure, I'm not an electrician, but I don't understand this very clearly, but I do have experience of my personal nature that when we change from halogen to LEDs, it makes a difference in the kind of lights that the switches that you use. It mentions that the Lutron dimming controller is good. Will it work with the new LED lights? It does make a difference because it is low voltage now instead of the regular voltage. So please ensure that all these are taken into consideration. Whoever is giving you the necessary quote or RFP understands this and can do it. So I've had a pretty high expense at my personal level that caused this. So I don't want this to happen in spite of me knowing about it and not mentioning it.
If I may.
Sure.
So for the dimming system, right now it's a phase dimming system and not a low voltage dimming system. And that is why in the RFP there is a line item to change from that phase dimming system, which yes, it currently does work. However, it's the older technology and not low voltage to work well with the LED lighting. The chandeliers are, we continue to replace the lights that are in there. However, because of the phase dimming system, they're not going to work properly. And if we were to remove their ballast and do direct wires to those, the dimming system would not work in its intended manner. I would, if the direction is to rework this RFP again, we could still do it in one RFP. We could do it and change the way it's worded however you would like. However, at this time, staff still recommends that these replacements are done. I would like to make mention that we're not saying that we're going to spend $150,000 here. That's the allocation that the board voted on 2 years ago when this capital was approved. However, when we did go out for bid the last time on this, including the parking lot lighting, was only about $75,000 or $80,000. We've removed the parking lot lighting. We expect this to go down more than that. So I believe, and the rest of the staff also that are working on this believe, that it is a good bang for the buck, especially since this board is so energy conscious, that we will be able to bring it up closer to and meet the Title 24 standards for energy savings with the newer technology rather than rewiring or direct wiring items that do not have the same control functions once you do that. Thank you.
Comments, questions? Procedurally, staff, we now have a rather complicated motion on the floor from Steve Leonard. Would it be wiser to vote on whether or not to proceed with the RFP as presented here first, and then entertain a motion to proceed with a second RFP, which will need some development, need a scope of work, based on Basil's proposal? Does that sound smart to you? Okay, good. All right. Are we clear on that? Do we want to restate
So
the motion?
I'll withdraw
Yeah,
my motion.
thank you.
And
Mhm.
I'll vote to send this out to RFP, but I would like staff to also develop an RFP based on the repair protocol that Mr. Al-Shamat has proposed.
Is everyone clear on that?
The second.
Second? Okay, thank you. Second. Any further discussion? Okay, can we call the vote, please?
The vote is no. Voting to turn it down. Excuse me, could I get a clarification? Are we voting to
RFPs.
kill it?
No, we're voting to proceed with two RFPs, the one that is presented and a new one to be developed by staff that reflects the assessment done by Basil Al-Mashat.
So if I vote yes, I'm voting to.
Two
release
yeses.
this?
No, you're voting two yeses because we want to have comparisons.
Well, we're voting just on this
Another-
recommendation.
Am I right or wrong,
We're voting
staff?
on this recommendation.
Right.
Voting on this recommendation, and we're directing staff to develop a second RFP, which shows the repairs.
But if we vote to approve this.
This is just going out for
No,
RFP.
this is the
We're not-
RFP, we're not.
We're just getting the RFP.
Approving the distribution of the RFP. Right?
Yeah, everybody clear?
I need Egon and, oh, there we go. We have Marie's. I just need Egon's vote. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. And you will follow up, Ian, as quickly as possible with committee and with board. Thank you. Okay, our next is the motion to authorize staff to request a proposal for Clubhouse 2 Annex Building Assessment. And this is item 12E in your hymn book. And let's see, our presenter is going to be Guy again. Good, thank you.
Yes, it will be me again. Thank you very much. So I'll just go back to, this is a 2025 capital plan. It was allocated at $50,000 to do a comprehensive building assessment of Clubhouse 2 Annex. That is the building between Clubhouse 2 and the pool. So within that building, it handles some of the recreation and maintenance items like the video lab, video studio, a storage room, locker rooms for the pool, a pool mechanical room, and a drop-in game room. So that's what that building houses currently. It wasn't a part of the renovation that happened, I believe, in 2016 when the Clubhouse 2 was renovated. So now we want to do a full assessment of that building to understand how the components are holding up within the building, how the structure, and give you a good idea of what your asset, the condition of your asset is currently. We will also, the consultant will provide recommendations of any code compliances or upgrades that they determine are required if you're going to keep this building going for another 60, 70 years. Also, they'll provide a ROM on what the cost would be for the renovation.
I'll move the motion.
Second? Gary, thank you. Okay, discussion. Martin?
Correct me if I'm wrong. We're looking at budget for '26, and we're seeing something on there regarding the need for like 1.7 million. What was it?
1.8.
1.8. Yeah, which is like blowing our minds that we need to have a better comprehensive study done to see really what has to be done. And that's kind of like the lead in, that's the driver to needing to do this. Am I correct in what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted
this is the
that.
first step to understanding that bigger project.
We're
Right.
looking at
Right.
next year and like, do we really need to spend that?
Right.
Okay.
Bree?
I'm just kind of simple, okay? And I
No,
used
you're
to
not.
have a pool with a pool house, and it had a lot of other things, and, you know, I would have competitive people come out and try to sell me something to examine that. In other words, I didn't pay for somebody to come tell me if I needed it or not. I asked people that might benefit by doing it, then I would make a decision. I'm sure that's too simple here, but it does need to be examined, but do we need to pay $50,000 to have it done? Do we not have people on staff who know what it's supposed to do?
Ellen?
I thought I remember seeing this, and it had the lawn bowling building, the clubhouse. Is there something wrong with the lawn bowling building? I thought there were some settlement issues.
No, that, we're not aware of any settlement issues. That would be something that staff would be called to go out and investigate. That has not happened. I believe that recently that building received a new roof. So that building, if anything, may need a facelift, but we're not looking at it as far as all the components breaking down or having issues. Where with these locker rooms especially, they tend to, because of the moisture in the room, they tend to deteriorate quickly. It's something that you need to keep an eye on because that will affect the structure eventually. And so it's good to get in there and do an assessment. We use engineers, outside third-party engineers to come in and look at all the components, how they're being used currently, and what efficiencies you can add to that building if possible. They'll look at all of that, and they'll also look at the code and how whether it's code compliant to today's codes.
Let's see, who's next? Egan, I think you were.
Yeah, I just want to remind you, all we're looking at is the assessment of the building. We're not given any other permissions. So, and since this will take quite a while, no doubt, judging from other things in the past, there'll be no rush to fix the building next year. We can clearly see that coming down the path, but not anytime soon. So it would be good to know whether or not we have any dry rot or anything like that going on.
Other questions, Manahar?
Are there any complaints from people who are in the building regarding any water leaks or any other issues?
We do keep record of roof leaks, if there are any roof leaks, and there's also records kept on any moisture intrusion. We have done work in the past, and one of the things that we are aware of, and this happens to a lot of buildings, when you have stucco, there's a vapor, a water barrier, basically, so that the water drains outside the building. If that gets deteriorated, it allows moisture inside on just an average rain event, and that will start to decay the wood framing. And so that's something that we really need to look at. How bad is the deterioration? Is it going to be recommended for that to be replaced or not? So these are all given to the consultants so that they can see the history of the building and how we've maintained it. And that goes into their report.
Okay, others? Andy?
Guy, this evaluation, how long is it good for? In other words, if there wasn't something critical, it's reasonable to think we wouldn't get to this thing for 3 years. You know, it might be 3 years before we even look at this again. Just saying, would that evaluation be worth anything?
Yes, the evaluation will tell you what condition it is at the time that they investigate. You can, if there were items that were, in bad shape, it's only going to get worse from there. The things that were in good shape, a simple evaluation of those would be something staff can do.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, on an evaluation that there's I'll use my own, quick and dirty, anything sticking out that needs, does that require $50,000 to go in and just say, that's bad? Or, yeah, generally speaking, 'cause I know you do detailed testing, and that's the right way to do it, but, a quick and dirty look, I wonder how much that would cost. But anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Martin?
The annex building, that's like a couple of 3 different buildings.
It shares the same roof structure.
Yeah, well, but my concern is that the fee schedule is quite generalized. Will there be a breakdown depending upon what section will be cost what? That we don't know if how it's going to look with the estimate with respect to this generalized fee schedule. I'm just wondering if that could be broken down a little better in what they deliver as far as the costs.
As far as costs, so if you want, are you trying to isolate just one portion?
Yeah, I want to isolate,
Building A, building B.
Yeah, what are we looking at for roof repair in this building versus this building? I see more than one building there. You call it an annex building. To me, there's more than one. But I'm just wondering if it could be broken down.
Yeah, they're tied together. So as far as structurally, they're not isolated in that sense. They share the same roof diaphragm. All the connections are important to keep that structure together as a whole. So breaking it down, I mean, if you wanted to isolate things, I'm sure you could, isolate them in the RFP, but I wouldn't recommend. The classrooms won't take much of their time. Where the time's going to go is into all of the mechanical, the structural, things like that. But the classrooms, like on the interior, those video labs, I'm not sure they're going to have much to say. But the structure of those, they will have a lot to say.
Do we have a history of what has been maintained there and upgraded that something is still looking good and working there. We don't need to replace it. That needs to be considered when you're looking at rehabilitating an existing structure. We took care of this over here a couple years ago, so no sense going back and doing it again.
Yeah, we do have records on repairs and what replacements have been made to the facility. However, this is more holistic. It's about the entire structure and all of the components, your plumbing, your mechanical, your electrical. They will be looking, and it's one unit. It's considered, one unit.
What is line item 6, meeting, quantity of 3? I don't understand that in the fee schedule. What's a meeting?
So meetings are when the consultants or a consultant comes to present their findings and their recommendations. They take questions from either a committee or the board. They're there spending their time. That's a part of it. So that's part of their compensation is to come in for a meeting. If they don't come in for a meeting, then they don't get paid that line item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also have a comment in the same vein as $500 an hour for 100 hours of work, let's just say, gets us to the $50,000 Are these people getting $500 an hour? I mean, how do these consultants have justification for an enormous fee? In my mind, maybe my thinking is old-fashioned on these things, but it seems like this is an extremely hefty amount of money to spend on consulting fees, where nothing changes, except now we know more.
Yeah, they provide a full report, analysis. They're looking at the codes, so they have to go through all the codes to make sure that you're either in compliance or there's an upgraded needed. They look at it again holistically down to every component within that facility to give you a comprehensive report that you can then evaluate how you want to distribute your funds and what you can prioritize at that point. It just gives you that ability. Otherwise, it's just maintaining what's there,
Right.
and when things break, we repair them.
Right, thank you. Martin? You had more?
You know, you go to the dentist, okay? And, he can give you what you need to do, or he can really rack up a bill, okay? And we're not looking for like an invitation for somebody to rack it up so that, okay, there goes the $1.8 million. We're looking at a budget concern here, okay?
Very tight. Steve?
If I may.
Go ahead, Steve.
Just really quickly, there is page 19, the fee schedule, but page 17 and
Right.
18
Right.
give you the description of what's going to be done within each one of those items. So if you look at that, that'll give you some detail. And again, we have an allocation for a certain amount of money. Doesn't mean we're going to spend that much money. And we put it out for RFPs. Hopefully we get several bids so that we have a range of options to choose from, correct? Yep, thank you.
Okay. All right, any other questions, Marie?
Well, I was awakened by Andy's pointing out that if we do this now and we don't actually make the changes for 3 or 4 years, which we're trying to not do anything that doesn't have to be done right now, it might be a waste of money and we have to do it again in 3 years.
Yeah, but I thought about that. Can I comment?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm telling you, the $1,850,000 is on the bubble. We're looking at it to conserve cash and keep our reserve funds where they are. But prudence requires us to make the best informed decision. This decision will be done in public. Dick, it'll be done in public. We're going to have a meeting down the road where these items we're talking about deferring or not doing, we're thoroughly going to discuss them, and I would expect the membership to look for confirmation. None of us are experts, and so there is something at having, done well. I mean, it's RFP. It may not come in at 50. I'm just saying that. So we need to weigh how much background support we have for this decision coming down the road. And I can tell you, this $1,850,000 is on the bubble. If we have to do it, we have to do it. If we don't, we can defer it. But we need an informed judgment about that, and perhaps to some degree this will provide that. So this is not a useless exercise. It's just how much, how deep. That's all I have to say.
Martin?
Isn't it conceivable that we won't have these numbers back by the time we approve the 26 budget? So right now, that budget approval is zero for that annex building. Thank you.
Further? Egan?
So will the meetings to bring this thing up before we have an embarrassing situation like we had yesterday, will the consultant, the one we select after the RFP, should, in my opinion, and the board can agree or disagree, we should talk to that gentleman or that company before they start out on the work so we have an understanding of where we're going. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, we can make
Thank you.
that arrangement. Also, you have a history on evaluating your assets, and it's been done in the past. So you've looked at the PAC, you've received a comprehensive report, Same thing with Clubhouse 1. You receive the comprehensive report, then you prioritize what you wanted to address at that time. But you always have that report, and you know what the facility, what condition it was in at the time it was investigated. So.
Okay,
Vicki?
thank you.
Vicky Choi Ho, United Mutual. I believe several weeks ago on the MNC committee of the GRF discussed this one very lengthy matter. And if I understand correctly, originally we were assuming that, Clubhouse that annex project will be going on about $2.0 million. Under that assumption, this assessment project has been proposed. And I think the whole project, $2 million, has been on hold. And so MNC committee's whole sentiment at why we need to spend $50,000 at this time. Because as everybody knows, we have a lot of expenses and mutuals have a lot of burden, for the increasing possibility of increasing our assessment fee. So we, on the project log, this $50,000 was on, and the most of the MNC committee feel that it is not, should not be spent at this time. So that's what I assumed, and I thought everybody agreed it. We did not officially vote on because it was on the project law. However, I don't know why the board, this one came to the board, and I'm kind of, opposing this matter goes on, even though I'm not a committee member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mickey. SK, did you want to speak? Okay, just a second.
Yes, SK Park from Third Board. I've been out for about a month and a half, so I don't know what was going on for a while. However, we decide what we need versus what we want. So please consider non-necessary items to be eliminated or postponed because our budget is very strained and we cannot afford to spend $33 at this point from GRF budget. So please, I'm pleading to you, do not overspend so that our resident pocket is not going to drain out. For air conditioner, the problem may be refrigerant problem or filter problem or compressor problem. Those can be fixed. Please do not overspend unnecessarily items. Thank you.
Okay, next. Yes, Steve?
I just want to make a quick comment here. The air conditioning systems are very old. They tire, and replacement parts become unavailable. They're legacy issue products, so they require replacement. In the matter of this that we're considering right now, we as the trust and as board members have a responsibility to keep and maintain the trust facilities in proper order. We have a building here that's 60 years old, more or less. And what we're trying to understand is what is the present condition of the building, and are there things we need to address now or need to address later? So, you go to the dentist, you get your teeth cleaned, and they check you up. If you don't go to the dentist and you end up with a mouthful of bad teeth, they get pulled. All we're doing is our fiduciary responsibility in determining what the condition of the building is. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's wind this up. Okay, go ahead, Martin.
I totally understand where Mickey and SK are coming from. I don't want to see us have to spend money to see if we can save money. And this is looking like that's what we're doing here. And yeah, Steve's right, we have the responsibility to keep these facilities up to snuff, up to grade. And, you know, I don't want to do it. I don't want to spend the money, but what this is, there's a cost to research. And this is what this is research that we have to invest in to know what we got. I just don't want to throw a bunch of big money at something and say, oh, let's just change the roof. Let's just put a new, you know, smile on its face and we're good to go. No, we have to do the research to know what we got, unfortunately.
Egon?
Yeah, a couple of things I wanted to answer Mickey's question. We decided at some point on the board that we would like to have these RFPs come here, or the request for RFPs come to the board so that we can discuss them before they go out. That's the reason why it's here. And I've got to agree with the gentlemen, both of whom have spoken for, this is a part of a preventive maintenance thing or a preventative information seeking thing that can save us a lot of money, because if we do have something behind the walls, as you do often in old buildings, it is good to find that out. That does not mean we're going to spend any money on it in the near future. And this is also an interesting point that we have not done in the past. I'm recommending, or have recommended in private discussions with people, that we look at more of the equipment that we have before we replace it. For example, we've been asked time and again to replace a piece of equipment that we understand nothing about, absolutely nothing. We get 25 words or less as a recommendation. We get a 1 by 2 inch color picture and we say, go ahead, vote. I'm recommending if we do this from now on all expensive equipment, that we get an outside opinion of that, a mechanical resolution or review before we spend that kind of money. And this thing fits in that same category. It's the only building, or maybe the only building that we haven't looked at of the old buildings, and I think we should get a review of it, get an understanding of what the condition is. Thank you.
Oh, there's Ellen.
I'd like to see the data behind this building. How many moisture intrusions, what kind of, you know, I know Pool 2 doesn't have as much attendance as some of the other pools. I don't know about the bathrooms, if we had some leaks in there. So I'd like some data before I go out, I would say, before a request for proposal. So we're making a more conscious decision. Yeah.
If there are no further comments, I call the motion to a vote, please. And what you're voting on, just to remind you, is whether or not we proceed with an RFP for the assessment of the annex building. Paul or Michaela, give us the totals, please.
Should be up on the screen, 6 to 3 to 2, so the motion still passed.
Okay. Divided board, but the motion does pass. Thank you. At this time, we will proceed to maybe an easier one, and that is the pickleball side. We can have, let's move this along now. Why are we looking at $61, Allison? Why didn't you just buy
Really,
the
just for,
side?
good morning, President Bach and members of the board. Really, this is an easy one. It's really just for consistency.
Right.
Review and recommend a resolution for pickleball club request to place an updated sign on the Clubhouse 1 gymnasium wall. They currently do have a sign that was never approved by the board. You may remember recently we brought a sign to you for the light volleyball club. So the pickleball club, since they want to swap it out, put their new logo and use some new vinyl, it's going to be the same size as the volleyball one that was approved. We just wanted to bring it to your attention and make sure that they have the okay to do that.
Okay. Egon left the room. Do you want to read the resolution, Ellen? Yeah, it's 12F.
Request for placement of pickleball club sign in Clubhouse 1 gymnasium. Whereas the pickleball club requests to place an updated pickleball club sign on the Clubhouse 1 gymnasium wall. And whereas the pickleball club would like to place an updated vinyl sign with a new logo and higher quality vinyl measuring approximately 32 inches by 72 inches on the Clubhouse 1 gymnasium wall. And whereas the sign will be mounted by staff next to the badminton club sign. And whereas additional signage exists for both the volleyball club and the light volleyball club, and gymnasium signage builds interest while promoting spirit and camaraderie amongst users. And whereas on June 12th, 2025, the Community Activities Committee reviewed and recommended the request of an updated pickleball club banner in the Clubhouse 1 gymnasium, and for this item to be presented to GRF in July. Now, therefore be it resolved July 1st of 25 that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the request of an updated pickleball club banner in the Clubhouse 1 gymnasium, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I so move.
Second, please. Second, Steve. Any discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor? Okay. We're voting on the pickleball sign.
Okay,
again.
would you put my
Yeah.
screen up, please?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, I finished the voting, but you can let me know if you vote for or against it now.
Yes, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, looks like the motion carries, and we can move on to item 12G, entertain a motion to approve Performing Arts Center Music Room designation. And this is also yours, Allison?
Yes, thank you. A little more complicated, but still I think we can get through this one okay. The recommendation before you today is to review and approve the designation of the former billiards room at the PAC as a designated music room, that the music room be a trial hybrid, both rentable and drop-in space at the rates established by financial services. The music room be scheduled with the same parameters as the PAC rehearsal room, with the understanding that reservations may need to be canceled if there is a conflicting auditorium performance, and staff to report to CAC in 6 months after the implementation or review of hybrid model. During the trial, hours are subject to change as staff investigates what works best for the facility. So the PAC billiards room recently consolidated with the billiards room at Clubhouse 1, allowing for a new rentable space over at the Performing Arts Center in the next to the auditorium. This unveiled an opportunity to support the efforts of the Village Music Club, who for many years have been an advocate for all musicians to have a designated space to gather and practice. Staff originally recommended this room to allow for instrumental music and singing and establish rental fees for use consistent with other facilities, which helps staff manage reservations and generate revenue to offset operating costs. At the June 2025 CAC meeting, the CAC reviewed and recommended the recommendation that I mentioned earlier, with the addition to the original staff recommendation that we explore the hybrid model, and that the staff report to CAC in 6 months after the implementation to tell them how it's working out. Staff recommends the following hybrid model with drop-in hours on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Tuesday, Thursdays from 1 to 5 p.m. There are to be no back-to-back sign-ins, only one drop-in session per resident or group per day, and there's a limit of 2 drop-in use times per resident group per week. During drop-in hours, musicians will visit the office to submit their ID card and have the room unlocked. And the Village Musicians Club has also offered to assist with the drop-in process if necessary. The reservation hours are recommended as follows: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1:30 to 10 p.m., Tuesday, Thursday from 9 a.m. to 12:30, and 5:30 to 10 p.m. Saturday, Sunday by reservation only. Those hours for drop-in are during hours that the facility would be open during the week. That facility is usually open by reservation only, so that's why we put the drop-in hours during the time when staff are there. During regular business hours, if the room is open during reservation hours, staff will be able to rent the room on the spot, but we will not allow same-day drop-ins to discourage users from abusing the drop-in time.
But you don't have to go.
And fees will be the same as the rehearsal room because it's the same size. Currently, those rates are for residents, $8.16 for the first 2 hours and $2.72 each subsequent hour. And the exception rate is $144 for the first 2 hours and $48 each subsequent hour. Again, we don't rent this room out to non-residents. The exception rate is when a resident or club books on behalf of an outside organization. And with the hybrid model, we estimate an annual estimated revenue of $4,500, but this may vary as we establish this new amenity. Some other items to note: the room will be closed on approved holidays. Storage space is limited in the proposed room, and sufficient storage would need to be added for large instrumental pieces to be stored. Any miscellaneous requested equipment would need to be donated or purchased in future budgets. Loud music would be disruptive to rentals in Dining Room 1 and the auditorium. There is a capital expenditure of $25,000 to address some gaps in the soundproofing of this room. And right now, there's a gap in between where the wall meets the ceiling, and so that's where the area that we would like to get looked at to close up, to not make a bigger impact on the auditorium. And there are no other improvements that are expected for this room. The carpet, the lighting, and the electrical capacity are considered adequate at this time. So I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Steve?
We recently took a tour of the building. We saw the room in question. We were told that there are sound mitigation problems, as Allison just mentioned. This is my backyard. It's what I've done my entire life, rehearse. I have a lot of concerns about this room. We're dealing with sound mitigation issues over at Clubhouse 1, which appear to be pretty extensive and possibly very expensive. And I'm concerned that the $25,000 estimate for using as a cost for the sound mitigation issues is not going to be sufficient. I'm also concerned that the size of this room is, the room could be put to better use than just as a rehearsal hall. If you're going to have amplifiers and a PA system in there, it's not going to be quiet. It's not going to be a choir singing or, a line dancing class. This is going to get loud, or it can get loud. So I have a lot of concerns about this room. As she read, the room is not soundproof and cannot be utilized during the auditorium. It just looks to be really messy to me. And finally, if you're going to invest tens of thousands of dollars in this room, and you're only going to charge $8.16 for 2 hours, this is madness. That is a huge room that could be rented for bigger groups and more revenue. I don't understand how we get into these rental rate systems like this. If you were to rent a room outside for rehearsal, outside of the village, it would be at least $35 an hour. Just like, so those are my remarks. I'm not in favor of this.
Martin?
The room rental rate is based upon what we charge at other places. It's just within. We're not changing the I want to make sure with the limitation, we're not changing anything as to what can be done with, in the dining rooms, because a lot of people use their dining rooms, and they do music as well as whatever. So we're not changing it. This is just having to do with that one particular room, and we're not changing anything with the others.
That's correct.
Okay.
This would be a drop-in facility, and the hybrid part would be collecting money. Drop-in facilities, as you know, end up being forever. Okay, I've not seen a drop-in facility that's turned over into a private rental, but we would have to add storage because we might have the liability of equipment because people will be leaving equipment or we will be purchasing equipment, and the soundproofing concerns me a little bit too. So I'm on the fence on this one.
Other comments,
Yeah, I'll
questions?
make a
Egan?
So we've been seeking a place for musicians to go for a long time. The decision we make now is just to give them a place to meet up. We made certain conditions or decisions already to move the billiard people out and make more room. I see no reason why you can't go forward with this, and if a problem comes along later on, we can always come up with a new plan. I would make this comment. I recently went to a performance at the PAC, and I got there early, and there was in the south dining room, the one that's on the same side as the music room, there was a group of people in there playing music, obviously, and it was extremely loud music. But then when I walked into the auditorium and the door closed, I didn't hear anything. So, yeah, it's noisy, but if you stand right next to it, and everywhere we go, we're going to have to make some minor, accept some minor conditions that we don't personally like. But I think overall, this benefits the community to have these musicians have a place to go for the time being. And we can make the decision with the wall later. We can just not have any rehearsals while there's a PAC performance going on. There's all kinds of things we can do. But I think we should go forward with the thing. Thank you.
Would you read the resolution? Oh, Andy, I'm sorry, you have another comment?
Thank you, Egon. This is a very important part of this is equity. The amateur musicians have been underserved by this community for many years. We see the sports people get all kinds of stuff, and they want to practice. There's places for them to practice. Amateur musicians, if they practice in their manners, believe me, it can cause problems with the walls being so thin. And secondly, there's the social benefit of like-minded people getting together. And I would argue that these kind of like-minded people have been for years underserved. It's a matter of equity. It's no big deal. The room, there's plenty of other rooms to rent. I mean, we've been around. We all toured the facilities. There's lots of rentable space. Why single something out like that? So I would hope that the board would consider it as the right thing to do, in line with what we've done for other things. Thank you.
Egan? I'm sorry, Kush?
I agree with what Martin said earlier, and also with Andy. I think we should move forward and support the small community that needs this room, and they've been waiting for a long time. So, and obviously, as Martin pointed out, that we are not here to rake in money, and we cannot change our charging system. So I think we should all support that and move forward with this.
Thank you. Egan, would you, if there's no further discussion, would you read part of the resolution, maybe not every single word?
I'll read the significant portions of the resolution. Resolution 90-25-XX, Performing Arts Center Music Room Designation. Whereas staff recommends that this room be designated as a music room to allow for instrumental music, both individual and group, and singing, and establish rental fees for the use of. And whereas the Performing Arts Center serves as a multidisciplinary facility supporting music, theater, dance, performing arts, and community rentals. Currently, music activities are conducted in multi-purpose rooms at various clubhouses, and whereas the proposed music room is the exact square footage of the rehearsal room on the opposite side of the auditorium, and fees to the proposed music room can easily be established to match rates for the rehearsal room. And whereas on June 12, 2025, the Community Activity Committee reviewed and recommended a resolution for the designation of the former billiards room at the Performing Arts Center as the designated music room. Now therefore be it resolved, July 1, 2025, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the resolution for A, the designated former billiard room of the Performing Arts Center as a designated music room. Resolve further that the officers and corporation of the agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out the resolution as written. I offer the resolution.
Second? Martin, second. Okay, further discussion? Okay, yes, Steve?
Again, we hear from our corporate members to be responsible with our money. My fear is this is going to turn into a money pit. The sound mitigation that's going to go on, that's going to be necessary. You have glass windows in there. Those are going to have to be baffled with some kind of heavy-duty curtains or something. I can just see this thing going down a road where $50,000, $60,000 from now, we're going to be hearing, why did you spend all this money and why did you designate it as a music room? Why didn't you just leave it as a general purpose room? It says it's a trial, hybrid, but again, I don't support this.
Okay, further comments? We'll call the vote, please. And the motion passes. Motion passes. Next item should be fairly fast, and that is to entertain a motion to approve dog licensing and vaccination day request as an exception to the normal policy. And this happens every year, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Yes.
The club hosts an annual dog licensing and vaccination day and serves 125 to 350 dogs each year. Licenses are valid for 1 to 3 years. Felines are welcome for needed vaccinations. The event is coordinated with the City of Laguna Beach's Animal Services Division under contract with the City of Laguna Woods and Vet Care Pet Clinic to assist with the required ordinances. The dog club is requesting several exceptions to the GRF policy to host the event. Policy currently states facilities and rooms may not be used to conduct a business. The club group organization may not represent any business or commercial interest or activity, and sales of products and or services are strictly prohibited unless permitted by recreation as a fundraiser. And no monetary transactions may take place within the GRF facilities. The clubhouse is secured in advance each year, the first Thursday of February. This is in line with the City of Laguna Woods deadline of March 1st for that. And on June 12th, the CAC reviewed and recommended the exceptions to the Golden Rain Foundation policy to allow for this event on an ongoing basis annually. And should the board approve these exceptions to the policy, there would be no fee to the club to host the event. The dog club does not receive any revenue from this event. Nominal fees are collected directly by the City of Laguna Beach and the veterinarian in attendance. So that's kind of why we need the exception to the policy. And long story short, this is a tremendous service to the community that the Dog Services Club provides. We brought it last year, but it was only for a one-year exception. We're asking for an exception going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Allison? Okay, would you please read the resolution, Egon, at least the relevant parts?
Okay. Resolution 90-25-XX, dog licensing and vaccination day request exemptions. to the GRF Recreation and Special Events Policy. Whereas the Dog Club has requested exemption from the Golden Rain Foundation of Recreation and Special Events Department policy and procedures to allow for Dog Club to host a dog licensing and vaccination day annually, including a commercial use of GRF facilities by the Dog Club, including collection of fees and by vendors. Designate one annual event as eligible for annual rollover and waive the resident room rental rate. And whereas the Dog Club established in July 21, 1969, and encourages owners of dogs to be better members of the community and promotes the interest in proper care of dogs in the community. And whereas the Dog Club hosts annual dog licensing and vaccination day and serves 125 to 350 dogs each year, with felines welcomed as well as and therefore, whereas the event is coordinated by the City of Laguna Beach's Animal Services Division under the contract to the City of Laguna Woods and Vet Care Clinic to assist with the required ordinances. And whereas approval of this exemption will allow the Dog Club to exclusively coordinate the event, which will assist residents in staying compliant with state, county, and city laws, ordinances pertaining to animal control, and whereas the clubhouse is secured in advance each year of the first Thursday of February with a club rollover, ensuring compliance of the City of Laguna Woods deadline of March 1, and whereas on June 12, 2025, the Community Activities Committee reviewed recommendations exception for the Golden Rain Foundation Recreation and Special Events Department policy and procedures to allow the Dog Club to host the Dog Licensing Vaccination Day event, including commercial use of the GRF facility by the Dog Club in the collection of fees by vendors. Now therefore be it resolved 1 July 2025 that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the exceptions to the Golden Rain Foundation Recreation and Special Events Department policy and procedures to allow the Dog Club to host the Dog Licensing and Vaccination Day annually, including commercial use of the room. Resolve further that the resolution 90-24-18 approved May 7th, 2024 is hereby superseded and canceled. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation hereby authorizes to carry out this resolution as written. I offer this resolution.
Second? Martin, second? Okay. Discussion? Okay, we'll proceed to the vote, please. And
Brad, can you submit your vote?
it looks like the motion passes, and good. Next item is motion to approve Community Concert Club request for exception to GRF Recreation poster policy. This is this is one that came out of committee, right, Allison?
Yes. CAC was very busy last month.
Yes, indeed.
So this is to review and recommend a resolution for the Community Concerts Club exception to the GRF Recreation Policy to place 11 by 17 posters in clubhouses 157 and the Performing Arts Center 90 days in advance of the first club concert event, which includes now for the 2025-2026 season, and the same placement for the 2026-2027 season. A little background highlight here, the club has about 790 people in their membership. They have 6 live classical music concerts per year, and they're all with the goal to further the enjoyment of classical music in the village. This request would allow for the recruitment of resident membership before the season commences, keeping the membership dues low while building a larger membership base. I'll mention it's the 2027 season is the club's 60th anniversary. And this exception is basically to allow for poster placement at facilities we currently don't allow posters at. It will allow for multiple seasons, so they don't have to come back to you next year and ask for permission again, and to extend to 90 days for those posters at the facilities. And again, the CAC did review and recommend this to GRF for consideration. Thank you.
Questions for Allison? Okay, if none, would you read the relevant parts of the resolution, please, Egon?
Yeah. Resolution 90-25-XX, Community Concerts Club request for the exemption to the GRF recreation poster policy. Whereas the Community Concerts Club was requesting an exemption to the GRF recreation poster policy to allow for the placement and scheduling of posters, permission to place posters measuring 22 by 17 inches in Clubhouse 157 and the Performing Arts Center now and for the 25-26 season, and placement and scheduling in aforementioned clubhouses in April 2026 for the 2026 to 27 season, for which is the club's 60th anniversary. The 22 by 17 inch size is not available, and the club stated the use of 11 by 17 posters would be acceptable. And whereas the Community Concerts Club was founded in 1985 as part of the national organization that was formulated during the 1920s and has a membership of approximately 790 people. And whereas the club is open to all residents with the goal of furthering enjoyment of classical music by bringing music performances by world-class artists to Laguna Woods Village, hosting 6 live music events per year on Sunday afternoons at the Performing Arts Center. And whereas the club concerts are funded by members and dues and contributions made by members, not by the sale of individual tickets at the Performing Arts Center box office, then this request would allow the recruitment of resident membership before the season commences. And whereas on 12/25, the Community Activities Committee reviewed and recommended the concert club exemptions to the Golden Rain Foundation Recreation and Special Events Department policy and procedures to place 11 by 17 posters in the clubhouses 1, 5, 7, and the Performing Arts Center 90 days in advance, only which includes now 2025 season and placement and scheduling of the aforementioned clubhouses on the April 2026 for the 2026 and 2027 season. Now therefore, be it resolved, 1 July 2025, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the Community Concert Club exemption to the Golden Rain Foundation recommendation and Special Events Department policy and procedures to place 11 by 17 posters in clubhouses 157 and the Performing Arts Center 90 days in advance, only which now for the 2025 to 26 season, and the same placement and scheduling for the aforementioned clubhouses April 2026 for the 2026 and 2027 season. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized to carry out this resolution as written. I offer the resolution.
Second? Okay, Martin, second, thank you. Any discussion? We'll go to the vote then. Okay. Motion carries. Thank you. The last item on our new business agenda is discussion of gate problems and cost year to date. And this is an oral discussion. Who would be leading this one for us?
I would.
Chuck? Okay.
Good morning, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to present to you and have some discussion about our gate access control system. Again, my name is Chuck Holland. I work for Information Services. I think before we can kind of have a discussion of collaboration here, let's talk about the scale and scope of what we're talking about here. Gate access control, it's just not just the gate barrier arms and how fast they go up and down. It's a whole integrated security access system that includes visitor management, vehicle registration, security and surveillance, license plate recognition, RFID technology. To put it into perspective as far as the volume and scope of detail that we're talking about here, on any given annual basis, we have 10 million vehicle entries, 1.5 million guest passes that are scanned in, 400,000 new guest registrations annually, 300,000 card swipes at all the different facilities, 3,500 RFIDs issued, 235 reported issues to security at the gates for gate strikes or particular issues. Of those 235 issues in the last year, 100 of those were reported as gate strikes. So out of the 10 million vehicle entries that you had last year, you had 100 gate strikes. Of those gate strikes, only 6 of them required significant repairs that resulted in an insurance claim. Our most recent insurance claims was by El Toro Water District. So if a gate arm gets hit, it gets knocked off, it's a security team, goes out there, puts the arm back on. But if somebody loses control and smashes the gate access control mechanisms, the gate arms, then we do file insurance claims against their carrier. Our most recent claim was settled with El Toro Water District. They hit one of our gate arms, and we recently received a check for $16,000. So we are always constantly monitoring those gates on a day-to-day basis. Our vendor, California Gates, has an annual support agreement with us that we pay for them for multiple different areas. They have multiple different agreements. They have a gate access control arm agreement, support agreement, and they also manage our surveillance system as well. So we have an agreement with them for our surveillance system. So ultimately, what California Gates, what they support is over 200 security surveillance systems, over 40 LPR, license plate recognition systems, 24 gate arms, 12 gate houses, all of our pedestrian gates, all golf cart gates, our RV gates, our tennis court access points, our community center card swipe access points, and all of the different card swipes throughout the organization. As part of this program, especially with our RFIDs, we charge $25 per RFID. We issued 3,500 of those last year. So that program is bringing $100,000 worth of revenue. But then we also have $100,000 worth of support costs. Not damage replacement costs. I'm talking about supports. This is like tweaks and modifications. So what we're really trying to do is run that whole program net neutral. So if we bring in $100,000 of revenue and we're spending $100,000 of support, we try running it net neutral. Now, that doesn't include the capital items when you have wear and tear and things get crushed and broke. But by and large, we think it's a very successful program. There are maintenance items and problems like any mechanical systems, but we have a great partner with California Gates and with our security partners. They usually jump on those issues right away. So Steve's got some numbers and has some actual finances he can share with us, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions once he produces those numbers.
Martin?
Regarding the RFID readers, I noticed that the the caution traffic post sign varies in distance from that, the reader, and such that it looks like it's interfering with its cone of operation, that sometimes it's like within a foot, sometimes it's a couple feet back or ahead. And I don't know if you anybody's had the chance to look at that, but I see that sign
Right.
there definitely has an effect on the cone of operation.
Right. But, well, you could definitely take a look at that. California Gate installed all of this, the system here. They're the ones that did the design. They're the ones that did the build. They're the ones that are supporting the software, the system now. I don't think there has been, the signs may impact the cone of operation, but it's not impacting the operation of the gates. We have 10 million vehicles that come to those gates on an annual basis. So they're going to.
Some of the, you can roll up and it'll go up. Something you got to come right up to it and stop.
Right.
And
Right.
I just see it,
Right.
I don't know who made those decisions as to where that post goes, and that sign.
It really depends. Each gate has its own unique characteristics. Each gate has its own angle of approach, the length of the approach. It has the width of the lanes, and it depends on how people drive too. Some people who race up on the arm, it will trigger it to go faster. Some people who creep up on it, it won't recognize their car, right? So it'll be a delay. So you definitely get different responses depending on the height of the vehicle, the angle of approach, the speed. So you can't make all the gates act exactly the same.
No.
We can definitely have California Gates come out and just look at a recalibration, in particularly gate 14. It looks like it's got a little bit of a delay there. You have to get too close to the gate before it to come up. We can definitely do that kind of stuff. But to make every single gate work exactly the same, I think it's not a practical way to look at it.
The only other question I have, Chuck, is about to automate the gates, we would have to put up like a gate barrier. We'd have to get rid of these gates and come up with like a fence that gets controlled in order to be able to do something like that. Am I correct?
That's correct. So the number of vehicle access, for instance, like gate 5, to do something like that gate 5, you get 1.7 million entries at gate 5. If you had like a sliding gate, like you would have like the equestrian center area, that gate would have to open up and close 1.7 million times. There's not enough. There's too many cars flowing in there.
Wear that rascal out.
Yeah, no, for sure. So now there is some things you could do at night where if you did put the infrastructure in there and you closed the gates, and maybe at a period from midnight to 6 in the morning, you could turn those type of gates on where the traffic is minimal, so you don't have to have a gate guard. But I'll leave the chief of security to answer that question.
Egan?
We've gotten way off the mark, way off the mark. This was just a discussion about a frustration brought to everybody's attention by Director Moon of Third, but which mirrored exactly what I'd been thinking, because starting this year I was looking at the gates because of my position on this, the SCAC committee. We got we spent $2 million to install these gates. We spend approximately $2 million a year on the attendance at the gate. The future, whatever we do with automating, that's a whole separate issue. What we've got is a condition where the gates are operating slightly different as you approach them. And it was nice of you to say that there are 10 million entries, because it means that there are approximately 8 million frustrations every year that people feel when they come up. I live at gate 14, and I'm getting sick and tired of having to come to a complete stop every time. These gates are adjustable. Gate 8 works marvelously, so please don't go out and screw up gate 8 as a revenge for me bringing this thing up, because I've seen that kind of behavior before, which is really, really sad. Forget about the gates for a minute and everything else. Suppose you walked up to Ralph's, okay? And for you, the door doesn't open. Every time you get there, wouldn't you feel some frustration to walk up to the manager and say, fix this? Like I said, we're spending $2 million a year and we're being inconvenienced. Please just fix that really simple adjustment, and we will be less inconvenienced and we'll feel better. about our,
The traffic post sign.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a clarification. We're not, there's gate ambassadors staffing that spend $2 million a year. The operation of the gates does not.
oh,
yeah,
no,
okay,
no.
yeah, gotcha,
I
gotcha.
did not, in fact, I didn't even address the operation of the
Right,
gates.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Steve, did you have some?
No, just in terms of the overall operation.
Yes.
So from a financial perspective, you're spending on average about $90,000 to $100,000 on the annual update, the maintenance to the programs themselves. And then with that specific vendor that we mentioned earlier, and then between $40,000 to $60,000 a year on the transponders and materials and supplies, so on and so forth. So on average, over the last 6 years, about $150,000. So reasonable given the volume of people that are traveling through these gates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ellen?
I just had a question on the process of issuing RFIDs. Chuck, do permanent guests get RFIDs?
No, permanent guests, only residents only get, and vendors, right?
Residents.
But your annual pass holders or your permanent guests, they get a paper pass,
Right.
but that paper
Right.
pass will expire annually.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
the cost of the RFID is paid for by the people that get them, right?
That is-
They pay $25?
That's correct.
And the RFID costs $11.
Correct. Yep.
Steve?
To mirror Egon's complaint about Gate 14, I used to come in Gate 9 frequently, and it did not work for me. But every other gate that I went to worked flawlessly. So I just gave up on Gate 9. I've heard people in the towers complain that Gate 10 is problematic the same way. They roll up, and it doesn't open. So I don't know how you address this. I understand the angle of approach and the height of the RFID, but the RFID is affixed to the headlight by staff. I would hope that they would do it properly. Maybe sometimes they don't. I'm not so sure. But the other main issue for me with the gate access is the inconsistency of performance of the gate ambassadors, which is a security
That's a separate issue.
committee thing, but it's so I'll just say that the system is problematic. It's expensive. It's used, as you say, all these millions of entries. I just wish that we could find a way to make it better.
Thank you. Egon?
Yeah, I think that's the key. Let's
Yeah.
make it better. It's not going to be perfection. This issue was covered at the last VMS meeting, which is usually the day after, and 3 people talked at that meeting, one from security and 2 other people, and they all had incorrect ideas or made incorrect statements. One person said there was the weight indicator buried underneath there was in the wrong place, and there is no weight indicator. And somebody else said that if you're towing a long vehicle, it changes how the gate opens. How long vehicle would impact the recognition of the RFID device on the headlight is incomprehensible. So everybody has strange ideas. It's a really, really simple project. Go back to Ralph's, forget all this complexity that we've got going. And the signs do not interfere, because I've looked at this in great depth. They do not get in the way. You just draw a diagram, you'll see. Back to the Ralph's example. When you walk up to a Ralph's or Stater Brothers or anywhere else that has an automated door, you expect it to open for you. It's just the way that the system was built. It was built for that reason, to open for you. It was not built to frustrate you. And you would be ticked off if every time you went to Stater Brothers, you had to wait 5 seconds or 2 seconds for the door to function. And so I'm just saying, let's move along on getting it adjusted. Stop fighting it. Right now, VMS always has all these surveys. Hey, we're getting 4.5 stars. Let me tell you something. This is not getting 1 star. So let's move it up the line a little bit.
Okay,
Thank you.
Martin.
Yeah, you can't mix apples and oranges, okay? going up to Stater Brothers or Ralph's. That's motion sense, okay? This is backscatter modulation. This is an ID that you are read, and that has to be processed in order to make that gate. So please don't make that comparison.
But it's the same thing. It's the sensor that opens the door or doesn't open it.
That's total motion sense. Nothing to do
Okay.
with
Okay,
ID.
engineers? All right, okay.
Yeah.
Gary? Oh, no, another engineer. Okay.
Very, very simple. Just, I have little bitty cars, and I'm gate 10, and I have to get that frickin' vehicle under the gate usually before it'll pop. Just-
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know from our California case what the adjustments are. We know that device that sees the RFID is on a pole that that can be rotated, so that changes the angle. What we don't know is whether there's an internal adjustment for the cone, but we know that it's adjustable. We know that it works on some gates. If it works on one gate, it can be made to work the same on all gates. That's the nature of computer anything, and this is a computer.
Sure.
That's the nature of things. So,
Right.
so it's just an adjustment. Please don't fight it. There's no safety or other reason not to have that open. I'm not talking about open when I'm half a mile away so that I can speed through at 30 miles an hour. I noticed in gate 8, which works properly, I can go through maybe 2-3 miles an hour without having to come to a stop.
Thank you. Wow, okay. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay, no, I'll be more than happy. Here's my takeaway. We want to make it better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We got it. Okay, we're at the, Richard, you had something?
Dick wanted to speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dick Rader, 270D. Unfortunately, I have the same problem. I've heard you guys talking about specific gates. My problem is in gate 1, and I almost have to come right up to the gate before it lifts. It did not happen before. I don't know exactly when it changed. So my suggestion is, if you are going to be looking into this, that you look at all the gates, not just the ones that were mentioned.
Absolutely.
Yep, good, thank you. Now we are at the point of committee reports, and we can either take a 5-minute break and come back, or we can start on committee reports, and as you need to leave the room or walk around or whatever, you might miss something thrilling. But you've got the reports to read in the agenda. So I ask you, Board, what your preference is. Do we move forward with committee reports, acknowledging that people might be circulating around, or do we take a group break? What do you want?
Well, we're running late. Why don't we?
Oh, we're running late. We'll just proceed. Okay, first one up then is Treasurer Andy.
Okay, this is the Treasurer's Report for the July 1st Board meeting. The first slide includes all revenues and expenses for operating, reserves, and restricted funds. Through the reporting period of May 31st, 2025, GRF had net revenue of $980,000, with a total revenue of $22.3 million and total expense of $21.3 million. GRF in total was worse than budget, unfavorable by $583,000, with revenue under budget by $876,000, combined with total expenses coming in under budget, so favorable by $293,000. Let's move on to slide 2. This table displays the operating fund activities, which excludes non-operating revenues, expenses, and depreciation. This report shows an unfavorable variance of $75,000, not very much, to the reporting period, with non-assessment revenue worse than budget by $228,000, combined with total expenses favorable, better than budget by $153,000. Let's move on to 3. This slide shows our most significant operating fund variances by category, with green bars representing favorable and orange bars representing unfavorable. So you see, compensation, community events, materials, and supplies are favorable, and the balance are unfavorable. In terms of favorable, we had favorable variances in employee comp and related by $375,000, primarily in general services and landscape. There were various open positions in general services, primarily in fleet maintenance, and there are open positions remaining throughout the organization, and we're really trying to recruit those people. And hiring has picked up. Community events expense was favorable by $68,000, primarily due to temporary pause in activity while the Performing Arts Center underwent a sound system installation. So facilities closed, and we redeploy those expenses elsewhere. That's accounted for the favorable variance. On the other side, not showing up is the lost revenue. Materials and supplies was favorable by $57,000, primarily due to a decrease in golf activity, reducing the frequency of materials restocking, in addition to supplier rebates awarded for early purchase agreements for golf materials, timing issue. Furthermore, weather conditions suppressing pool activity drove down pool chemical expenses lower than anticipated. Material costs for both golf course and pool chemicals began to rise in May as weather conditions improved and activities increased. The point I want to make is these are kind of false savings because value that people are paying for wasn't delivered. So we'd like to get those variants a different way. As far as unfavorable variances, the broadband services revenue was unfavorable by $104,000, primarily due to revenue for set-top boxes being lower than anticipated as streaming becomes more popular among the community. Furthermore, clients are allocating more money towards other digital platforms that provide advertising metrics. Golf operations and green fee revenue was unfavorable by $130,000, primarily due to inclement weather in the first quarter of the year, resulting in less golf operations. Revenue began to recover in May as warmer, more favorable conditions encouraged increased play. And normally, the budget is backloaded somewhat, but it isn't completely seasonally adjusted, so you have these timing differences, and that's what we're seeing too. Outside services were unfavorable by $168,000, primarily due to the timing of payment for various IT-related subscriptions for software. The invoices were paid in full in May, but the budget was spread evenly across 12 months. Additionally, the unfavorable variance was attributed to unanticipated electrical and fire system repairs, including pre-action system work at the broadband building, as well as lighting upgrades and troubleshooting at the golf cart shop and Clubhouse 6. Cost allocations were unfavorable by $241,000 due to fleet maintenance allocating out less cost to GRF departments that utilize its services. As fleet maintenance runs a favorable variance in areas such as labor and fuel cost, it allocates less cost to other departments. It's a contrived kind of thing, and it's the way the allocations are, so I won't get into it, but it's a mechanical thing mainly. Slide 4. This slide shows sources of revenue other than the assessments, such as fees and rentals. Year to date, we earned $4.8 million in non-assessment operating fund revenue, as shown on the chart. We can see that our largest revenue category is broadband services, followed by golf revenue, other revenue, which includes class fees, electric vehicle charging revenue, additional occupant fees, equestrian center fees are RV storage fees, among others, clubhouse rentals and event fees, and merchant sales. These revenue categories offset costs and help keep assessments down. Move on to slide 5. Consistent with prior months, our largest operating fund expense is compensation, followed by cable programming and franchise fees expense. Of the $19.1 million, excluding depreciation, These two categories account for 65% of the total operating expense. Insurance, outside services, professional and legal, utilities, and fuel make up the remaining 35%. We'll move on to slide 6. The reserve and restricted funds adjusted balances are shown here. Starting with the first column on the left, reserve funds have a combined ending balance of $45.4 million. Restricted fund balances have an ending balance of $2.8 million. Included in these totals are contributions received in 2025 to assessments, trust facility fees, and investment earnings. The second column shows the work in process of $15.9 million for reserves and 0 for restricted, reflecting the amounts paid for projects not yet completed. The third column represents the resulting adjusted fund balances of $29.5 million for reserves and $2.8 million for restricted. I'd like to point out that for a future public meeting, we are reviewing open projects for deferment or cancellation to build up reserve balances. So please come to those meetings if you're very interested in our strengthening the reserves. Let's move on to slide 7. This slide shows the resale history from 2023 to 2025. Community sales total 307 year to date, and typically we have about 660 during the year. Most of these transactions generate the trust facilities fee, which is used as a source of revenue for our reserves. Let's go on to slide 8. The listing on this slide gives you an idea where the reserve money is committed. Of the $29.7 million appropriated by the board for various projects and equipment purchases, the remaining encumbrance against our reserve funds is $15.7 million, primarily for fiber improvements and work at GRF facilities. As I stated before, encumbrance doesn't mean spent or committed. In many cases it does, but not in all cases. So we are working to reduce that encumbrance amount again to strengthen reserves. Let's move on to slide 9. Here we're comparing our adjusted fund balances to historical balance for the past 5 years, which shows that GRF has averaged $30.5 million in reserve funds and $2.8 million in contingency funds. Again, I want to point out, because of the broadband project, those numbers aren't going to hold, and we're going to have reductions. They're going to be reduced to lower but still prudent balances, and that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Very good. Yeah, Egan?
Could you bring up page 6, please, for that? There it is. I just got a question. What does work in progress mean? Is that everything that's on the budget for this year? In other words, in the business plan, I'm having trouble thinking that we're $15 million of stuff active for this year. What does that include is what I'm getting at. Is that actually ongoing work right now or already done? Or is it the budget number for the whole year, that 15 million?
It includes, line items that are placeholders, yes.
Oh, it does include placeholders,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's not actual work in progress.
No.
Or workmen are, okay, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
There's one other point I should point out, that the committee met on June 18th. Our next meeting is August 20th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom, and it's also virtual. Thank you.
Okay. Finance Committee, did you want to report on that, Andy?
Pardon?
Finance Committee? Other than treasurers, he gave treasurer's report, but Finance Committee, is there anything special about that budget?
No, they're actually
The budget, of
one and the
course.
same, yeah.
Yeah.
So they covered 5 months, yeah.
But Finance Committee, we talked about the fact that version 2 of the budget is coming this week, I think, on July 3rd.
Right, we did talk about the budget process and the fact that we will be having open meetings to discuss changes, because that is required, and the residents deserve it. We're not going to make any rash decisions or imprudent decisions, and we're doing this all in the wide open, so we appreciate any input we can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen, CAC.
CAC will, we had our meeting on June 12th. A lot of the information that passed today. So on August 14th is our next meeting at 1:30.
Okay, landscape. Brad, or do you want me to report on it? I guess I do. Yes, we recently met, and the report on the work done in Aliso Creek was very interesting. They do a species count of animals, plants, insects, fish, bugs, you name it. They've counted them all, and they do it every year to determine what's still there, what's new, what's exciting, and so on. And so it's a very thorough report that's part of the Aliso Creek maintenance that we're required to perform. We're also required to do a lot of tree maintenance in that area, which has not been done in a long, long time. It's expensive, it's extensive, and we hope that we can find some sources of revenue or grant to help do that. So next meeting is coming up in August 13th. Egon, M&C.
Yeah, we met June 11th. We did not recommend any projects for approval. What we did discuss is all of the RFPs that we got, what we talked about earlier today, and we recommended that each one of those be forwarded to the committee, and in the future, M&C will always look at those RFPs and recommend that they come to the full board before we send them out. So that was the main issue we discussed. And our next meeting will be on August 13th at 9:30 a.m. right here. Thank you.
Gary, Energy.
The meeting minutes are attached. We're kind of at a standstill now until we get some guidance on what the corporate members are going to willing to go along with. We have a lot of information. I might think about holding a couple of sessions with board at less than quorum situations, just so everyone's up to speed on what the possibilities are. Okay. I don't think there's any sense in trying to call for a vote at this point in time, but just an informational sessions.
Thank you.
I guess I would ask anyone that's interested in that to let me know, and we'll set a couple of times to go over that information.
Okay, space planning, Kush.
Thank you. The space planning meeting was held yesterday in the boardroom at 9:30 in the morning. Nothing was decided or discussed because it was a disaster. There is no date for the next meeting. That's all I have.
Okay. Martin, broadband.
Yes, last meeting was back in April. We do have our first open meeting coming up on July 11th here in the boardroom. And as you know, you can see that Ting has begun their construction, and we're getting a lot of publicity on that. And there'll be a community outreach ambassador program that's going to be unleashed. And so be aware, be prepared. Thank you.
Okay. M&V, Gary?
Again, a report attached, but we had a very interesting meeting because the word had gotten out that we were going to cancel the bus service. And you can kind of guess what kind of a response we had. This place was jammed. And my overall impression that I got out of the folks was they understand that the perception by the general members is that the system isn't utilized that much, but that it is, at a certain level, is vital to a number of our residents. And after that, I attended a meeting with the Vision Club. And if you need your heartstrings tugged, join me at one of those.
May I add to that? May I add to your report?
Sure.
May I add?
Yes, sure, of course, ma'am.
Yes, that room was packed, and it did hit your heartstrings. But I wanted to report that one of the loud things I heard was the importance of keeping it for these people, quote, even if finance is a problem, we would be glad to pay, unquote.
Interesting, yeah. We always have to check our assumptions, don't we, about people? Yeah, sure, Martin.
Yeah, Gary and I attended the Vision Club along with Jeannie Costello, and yeah, we got a real earful on the issues that they have regarding any kind of suspension or limitations in services. So that had to be all taken into consideration. Thank you.
Egon, security and community access?
Yeah, we met June 25th. We discussed the gates, which led to bringing up the discussion at this meeting. We also discussed the signs indicating the fine for running stop signs in the village, that we were moving forward on getting a cost estimate for those signs, and I'll keep on top of that. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 27th, right here in the boardroom at 1:30. Thank you.
Traffic, Ellen?
We met on June 18th. As a result, today we voted on the motion for no traffic school. I see in the hearings that there are people that are doing multiple abuses of stop signs, okay? 2, 3, and I don't know how you stop that, but the next hearing is on July 16th. Of course, it's closed.
Yeah. Also closed our executive hearing committee meetings. There's one on Thursday this week. Very, very few cases, thank goodness. We're a very well-behaved community. So that's great. Martin, disaster prep and IT.
First, I have a question, Michaela. Did you have a slide of a schedule that I forgot to post up? I wanted to show the board.
Yeah, you want me to pull it back up?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got to back up a little bit. On the broadband, I wanted to post a copy of the schedule that has been given to us by Ting, accepted by broadband, and I just wanted to show you guys that if you've got that there. I apologize for the. Ooh, that's good to see. In a nutshell, you can see they are they're going to be working feverishly to get the distribution to all the units that will be and they've got a long way to go. So, but the progress is being is occurring. I've been attending the schedule or the construction meetings on Zoom, and have been getting an earful as to what's been going on with that. And I apologize that I didn't show this during my committee, but I wanted you guys to see that there is an accepted project schedule. I still am waiting on what an accepted design is for the Network Operations Center. That's to be determined. And then after that, we'll be looking at what are the accepted test procedures that go along with this. Anyways, getting back, enough of the broadband, getting back to the
Disaster.
Disaster Preparedness Task Force. Didn't have a, let's see, we didn't have a meeting in June, but there was yeah, there was a meeting at Clubhouse 7 that I was, last week, that I wasn't able to attend, calling out for the block captains and cul-de-sac captains. And I know that there's more to be done with respect to our emergency operations plan and the coordination with the city and making sure that we have the procedures down right, that we can take to our captains for what is to occur. There are the minutes of that meeting attached to your packet there. I know that the antenna installations, we had that chance to tour the various clubhouses, and we're finding we're wondering why they installed the antenna ends where they did. It should have been like in an office or a command center. At any rate, we're looking at that. There has been a test done of the antennas, and we're finding that there are some that have failed, that there's a high standing wave ratio that is being measured that we have to get into that as to what's going on with that. Otherwise, they can't be operable the way they are. So more to follow on that. I know that Aaron's not here, but at any rate, okay, that's it for the DPTF. On the ITAC, we are slated to have a meeting last Friday of July. We didn't have one in June, but I know that that's moving along. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. And next on our agenda is to talk about future things we need to tackle. One is get a city council update from Chris Macon, who is the city manager of Laguna Woods. And he regularly reports into Third and to United to give all the directors and residents some idea of what's going on the city level, because it's sometimes easy to forget that we're part of a bigger community, or they're a little part of us. Maybe it's that way. In any case, would y'all like to have Chris Macon come in?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So please, we'll relay that to Catherine.
Yeah, he confirmed that he'll be at the August board meeting.
August, wonderful. Okay. Also, we've been talking about a government docs review committee. And Marie, do you have some thoughts about the need for that and how we might proceed on governing docs committee?
Not a committee.
Okay, but you're thinking about it.
A group, perhaps, to study. Some
Small
things I've
group.
already been passing out. I'd really encourage everybody to take a good look at that management agreement that I marked up.
Yes.
And let's discuss that when we have an opportunity. I want you to be thinking about what is it that we do want, and there's a lot of discussion that needs to be done. I think we have an opportunity to make a good difference.
Thank you. Director's comments? Shall we go around the horseshoe? Steve, start on your end.
Well, I've been trying to decide whether or not to make a comment about it publicly, but I guess I'll go ahead and do it. It has come to my attention that several Mutual 50 Towers board members have been circulating a rumor that I support and propose a $30 million program for EV chargers in the community. So, I laughed at first, but I thought these are the kind of things that need to be dispelled, and so I thought I would say that publicly today.
You don't.
The only EV charging things that we have on the agenda now are known, and they're going to be voted on July 11th by the corporate board members. And the only other thing that I'll say is today is National Reggae Day. So go have fun, man.
Steve, I would just like to say, I think they just misplaced the decimal.
Right, yes. Yeah.
Like 300,000 instead of 3 million.
Ego?
I echo what Steve said. It is amazing to me, both members and people on different boards and stuff. Just in talking to them, they have such misconceptions, and they have very strong feelings about them. And it's really important to have accurate information. The other thing I want to comment, I had an informal meeting yesterday just because we were in the same room with some people from Third, and one of their members made a very strong recommendation to me that we try to keep in mind as we go through the budget process, the difference between want and need, not just our own VMS's want and need. And if I'm a cost hawk, this guy was much more. So we got to really think about that. The other thing I want to comment, Ellen, you talked about wanting to get a report on what's been going on the annex as far as work is concerned. That's important for all the clubhouses, and we need to address that. But I will make sure, in particular for that clubhouse, that we have that information when we get the information back on what the RFP was. I mean, the cost on the RFP, okay? We'll get that information. Thank you.
I really enjoyed the tour that we did of the clubhouses. That was very insightful, and it was a good thing, and we need to do that more often. And again, I come against this grapevine feverishly that it's a destructive chain of information that has to, if you can't do your work in the committee and at the board level, living by and playing with the grapevine is just childish, and you have no place to be on the boards, on any of the boards. Thank you.
Ellen?
No comment.
Andy?
Okay, the only comment I have is this review of the RFP. I was skeptical at first, but when we got into it, it was really enlightening, the RFP process. And you got to get involved all the way to the end, and that was surprising.
Research.
Yeah, and I like that we're tightening things up. I think we are, and that's good for the community. Thank you.
Marie?
I want to reiterate Egon's comment on looking for the difference between want and need, and what we can put off till a little later. And I know sometimes we need to do stuff to prevent things happening, but sometimes when got our back against the wall, we need to maybe just let it happen, take care of it when it happens 2 or 3 years from now. So I just wanted to, I've been doing that the difference between want and need over in United almost every time I spoke, and cost-benefit analysis. Those are my 2 mantras: cost-benefit analysis and the difference between want and need.
Gary?
I'm going to take a little bit different twist on this to a certain degree. I'm afraid that right now, because of our financial situations, that people have, as is normal with the pendulum, etc., we are going from, heck, we just let anything go if that's what they want. Now it's swinging to the other side that we can't do anything. even when you look at the cost-benefit analysis and you say, long-term, this is something we need to do, and if we don't do it now, that opportunity is going to escape, and we're not going to get a chance to do it. And I was in the meeting that Egan was in yesterday, and we got a very strong message that we aren't going to do anything at all because we're in a panic.
Even though it's 60 cents on the dollar.
Even though it's 60 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, interesting.
The other thing is I'm following up. Sorry I wasn't able to make the tours with you guys, but one I was on vacation and the other one, you didn't want me there. It was not in good enough shape. But I have a really strong concern about those electrical panels, especially in one. So I'm staying on their case, saying, where's that report? You guys said you were bringing in an electrical engineer, and it's been confirmed that they're doing that, but the report hasn't been issued yet.
Menard?
I like the tours we had arranged by Catherine and this, units. They're very informative.
Kush?
Well, I think I'm resisting to say anything, but I can only say one thing, that the tongue has no bone, so it keeps wagging.
Okay, all right, well, with that, I think we can recess and adjourn. We will, 12:35 now, we will resume 1 o'clock, 1:05.
I would say if you guys could do maybe just a 15-minute recess, only because you have a member hearing at 1 o'clock.
Okay, 1 o'clock, okay,
Yeah.
right, we do have someone
I
coming
need
in.
to say, happy 4th of July, and you have a 4th of July surprise upstairs.
Fireworks, wow.
Sure doesn't come to that.